As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 207, and it's a Pokemon episode, which means I'm nervous as fuck over here. We're talking Pokemon Gen 2, which is Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal for the Game Boy Color. And Pokemon episodes freak me the fuck out because I know how many people that listen to this show are diehard Pokemon fans, and I appreciate the passion, but no matter how often I say that I don't know much about these games, I get called out for not knowing much about these games. I didn't bring up your favorite Pokemon or the secret cave or this glitch thing you can do. The reason I didn't bring them up is because I didn't know they were fucking there, all right? I did my absolute best. I put over 45 hours into this playthrough of Pokemon Gold to get ready for this episode, and I know I still didn't do everything. No, I didn't fight Red. That fight's fucking ridiculous. But I tried really hard. So these episodes make me nervous, not only because they're Pokemon episodes, but this one in particular is a sponsored Pokemon episode. A listener of the podcast by the online handle Deandonian sponsored this episode and bumped Pokemon Gen 2 to the front of my backlog line. So thank you very much, Deandonian. So I'm double nervous because I want you to feel that the episode delivered. I want all the listeners that are big Pokemon fans not to kill me. Fuck, it's a lot of pressure. But I really put my ass, all of my ass into this episode. That's what I'm trying to say. I worked really hard. I put almost 50 hours in. I did both games. If you know, you know. And I recruited a Pokemon super fan to be my guest this week. My buddy Miklos returns to the podcast. He's wanted to talk Pokemon since I launched Remember the Game. Admittedly, he's one of the people that gives me shit for not bringing more up about Pokemon. So this is his chance to shine. We're going to talk Pokemon Gold, particular in specific, because that's the one that I played, but we're talking the generation as a whole. Deandonian is going to swing by the episode and explain why he loves this game so much and talk about speedrunning it a little bit. And it's basically just an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord of Pokemon goodness. And we'll get there in just a minute because speaking of all-you-can-eat super long fuck. It's time for another edition of the infamous intro, whatever. I swear on my dog's life, that was like my fourth attempt at recording that intro. I haven't done one of these in like a month, and It fucking shows. Jesus, sweet Christ. It is time for the infamous intro. If you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Consider this your warning. Our intros are kind of long, but they're fun. Our intros are like the early stages of a new Pokemon game where you're just hanging out with your starter and fighting Pidgeys and there's no pressure. But if you do want to skip it, go ahead about 30 minutes and you will find the Pokemon chat. We have merchandise, hoodies, t-shirts, coffee mugs, posters, all kinds of stuff, rocking badass art that was drawn by my man Joe. You can check his work out at 4545creative.com, and you can find our merchandise at rememberthegame.podcast.com if you are interested. It is a great way to support the podcast. And of course, if you're like me and you're like, I don't do close, not my style, you can always just support us on Patreon. It's about the best value in the history of the internet. For only $2 a month, you get 2 additional podcasts every week. You get exclusive access to my gaming news podcast, Game Patch, every Friday, where I look at the biggest news in modern video games over the last week and add in my opinions and some profanity and stuff like that. And Expansion Pass goes live every Thursday for our Patreons, and it's a different show every week. We do game rankings, we look back at characters, consoles, we do comedy episodes, there's game reviews. This past week on Expansion Pass, we took a look at the game release schedule for the rest of 2022 and talked about the games that are getting us hot and bothered between now and New Year's Eve. And I know there's been a lot of delays, but I still have a good 8, 9, maybe 10 games coming between now and January that I'm really excited about. So I'm going to get into those. I talked about some of yours as well. And as is becoming a tradition here in the infamous intro, this is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass, our most anticipated games for the second half of 2022. Also dropping on September 2nd is probably the next brand new game I'm going to buy. And I hate the fact that I'm going to buy this, but I also know that I'm a weak motherfucker who's going to give them my money. And that is Last of Us Part 1. It is the remake, remaster, fucking whatever of the original Last of Us that for weeks and months we've all been joking doesn't need to happen. It's unnecessary. The game still looks fine, but maybe they're doing it because they're going to drop it on PC, or maybe they're doing it because they know that the HBO series is coming out soon and this is a way to get more people to try the game. I don't know. We've beaten this horse to death, okay? Just like all the people in the world of Last of Us, this horse is dead. But the remake of the original Last of Us drops on PlayStation 5 on September 2nd, and this is why you all call me Adam, part of the problem blank. I'm almost certainly gonna buy this fucking game. So that's now available on our archives. And this week for Expansion Pass 121, our Patreons got to pick the topic, and the games that had a positive impact on our lives came out on top. So it should be a nice positive. That's how we're going to wrap up July, with a positive episode. That should be fun. So again, $2 get you 2 additional shows every week, plus instant access to over 200 bonus podcasts. Plus, you can join our Discord. You get the chance to vote in our Patreon poll at the beginning of every month. You get the ability to submit comments to be read on all of our shows, including Play What, Remake What, Erased What, and I thought I could get through all that on one breath. And you get a shout out, and you get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to all of our newest Patreons: Ronnie Wells, Tyrese, Spencer Jensen, Joey Ketchum, Nick Counts, Ace Trainer Aegis, Tom 1313, My Hat is Red, Jay, Eric Stedet, sorry Eric, Frankie Napoleon, Jeff Carosi, Beard Gaming 85, Slurix, Casey Adcock, Krakenzag, Nakamurda, Logan Bucklow, and Phantom Gray. If that was bad, I'm rusty. So, no one expects me to say their name right on the show anyways. Sometimes I get messages from people that are like, dude, you actually said my name right. And I'm like, wow, I didn't. Every time I get one of those, I'm like, you're lying to make me feel better, but I appreciate it. Either way, thank you all so much. Welcome to Remember the Game Industries, patreon.com/rememberthegame if you're interested. Don't forget, wait till August 1st. If you're hearing this at the end of July or the end of any month, wait until the 1st of the month, because otherwise you're going to get charged the day you sign up and then again on the 1st. So if you sign up on like August 2nd, you won't get charged again until September. So you get a whole month. See, I'm trying to help you. I'm an honest. See how many Patreon podcasts are on there telling you don't sign up until then so I don't get twice as much of your money. See, I'm being nice. And to wrap up the sales pitch, 5% of our Patreon every month is going to be donated to the Stollery Children's Hospital here in Edmonton at the end of the year as part of my 24-hour charity stream. We're over $1,200 already. So you're doing good. I'm doing good. I have food to eat. You have podcasts to listen to. Win all around. Patreon.com/rememberthegame. And don't forget, you can find me on Twitch whenever I find myself on there, twitch.tv/remember the game, if you want to come by and say hi. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in the cartridge. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our patrons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is Mizuru, who wrote in and said, "Hey Blank, first time writing in." That's not fucking true. "How do you find comments to be read on the show? Do you read them all in one go before recording or periodically throughout the day? Sorry if this has been asked before. Have a wonderful afternoon." Well, thanks, Mizuru. No, I don't read any of them usually until I'm like working on my notes. And then, because a few people have asked me that, how do you pick who gets read on the show? So I try not to read the same people 2 weeks in a row if I can. Doesn't always work out, but I do my best not to. And then I type up my notes, and then when I get to each segment, like blowing in the cartridge, I copy any comment that I think I can give like a half decent response to or anything I want to read, and then I whittle it down to 6 or 7. So I just read them once, usually right before I finish my notes. So I'm not checking them every day or anything like that. So if you've never been read, or if you don't get read and you want to or something, I'm sorry. We're up to like getting 50, 60, 70 comments per segment. I just can't read more than 5 or 6. Yeah, you understand, right? It's no one ever complains about it, but I'm just putting it out there. I do my best to rotate who gets in. I try to give everybody a chance. Pie Guy 300 wrote in and says, "So I've been thinking about this more and more, but I really do think indie games are the future of gaming. Because if you think a lot of big game companies, if you think about it, a lot of big game companies today started out really small in the early 90s. I feel like most indie developers are way more passionate about their projects than the big boys as well. What are your thoughts?" I think there'll always be a place for both. I'm a huge indie game fan. I've talked about that many times. I was saying to someone just the other day, if I had to choose between playing AAA games for the rest of my life or playing indie games, I'd play the indie games. Because I do think I don't think necessarily the developers of indie games are more passionate. I just think that they have a lot more creative freedom and a lot more of their passion can shine through. Whereas I think if you work at Activision Blizzard, for example, it's not that you're not passionate about making a good game, but you're basically doing what, a giant corporation tells you to do. Whereas if you work at some small indie studio of 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever people, I assume you've got a little bit more leeway. And when you don't have literally hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, that probably makes it easier to be creative as well. So I think they're a big part of the future of gaming. I don't think indie games are the entire future of gaming. I mean, whether you like it or not, the fact remains that when you look at the best selling charts every month, indie games very rarely, if ever, get on it. It's always Madden, Call of Duty, the Elden Ring this year, like the big AAA. Most people come to gaming for the big AAA. It's no different than like film, I don't think. I think, everybody goes and sees fucking Marvel movies and Star Wars and shit. But then, the little indie film festival movies are like the diehards. And I don't know maybe it's a stupid analogy because I think more people play indie games and check out those little, film festival movies. But you know what I'm trying to say? I don't think indie games will ever tackle the big billion-dollar behemoths, but I do think there's a place for them, and I think they're going to run alongside them, and they're going to be just fine. That's my opinion. I fucking love indie games. Thanks for writing in, Pie Guy. Chosen Last wrote in and said, "When would you tackle some Wii games on the show? I feel the Wii is an underestimated system. The motion controls are solid when done right. I feel the Wiimote and nunchuck combo is a solid way to play games. Some great games from the first few years are Red Steel, Elbits, Trauma Center, Second Opinion, and Excite Truck. Keep up the great podcasts. Hopefully we'll see a Wii game by episode 300. We covered Wii Sports. So we have covered one Wii game. A few people have asked me this. Why haven't you covered more Wii games? I've talked about it a little bit before. Like I respectfully disagree with you, Chosen Last. I think the Wii is a horribly overrated system. I think the motion controls are a pain in the ass, and I hate them, and I don't want to use them. And I think the Wii is full of shovelware. And I had a Wii, and I'll promise you, Mario Galaxy 2, New Super Mario Bros. I guess it was just the first New Super Mario Bros. Maybe Mario Kart Wii. Those games will get episodes of the podcast at some point. I promise. But the rest of them, probably not. And it's not that they're very I don't own a Wii, and nobody send me a Wii, please. I don't want one. Thank you, but I don't want it. I don't have a Wii, and those are the only real Wii games. I did play Red Steel, but not enough to cover it on the show. And I don't think there's another Wii game that I played enough. The only thing I really did with my Wii was play Wii Bowling, play the 4 games I just listed, and then use the Virtual Console. And it's not like a lot of them are available now for me to go, like, it's not like grabbing a PS2 or a PS3 or a 360 or whatever and hooking it up and playing it. I can't play a lot of Wii games now to try them out. So the Wii is pretty well fucked on this show to the games that I've played, which are basically the 4 that I just listed. So sorry to anyone out there that loves the Wii. There will be the odd episode coming up, but that's probably about it. And I'm sorry. I don't get along with your console. I'm sorry. I fucking hate that goddamn thing. And I had 3 of them brick on me, which doesn't help it either. But there you go. That's why we haven't done more Wii games, and that's what's probably coming for the Wii. Thanks, Chosen Last. X Jude wrote in and said, "Hey Adam, Ninja Turtles question here. Who's your favorite villain? You've probably said this in some episode, but I can't remember if you have. Personally, I really like Baxter Stockman. He's just a dork who can be threatening if you let him, but he's not really that scary." Yeah, Baxter actually is my favorite villain in Ninja Turtles. Like, I like Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady and Shredder and all those guys. Rat King, I still think the Rat King would have made a great third original trilogy movie, and I think Baxter Stockman as a fly would have made a great third movie for the Michael Bay Turtles if they'd ever gotten one. I don't even know why he's my favorite. I just think he looks cool. Like, as a fly, he's just fucking cool looking. I don't know. I've always felt Baxter's more of a threat because he's so smart. Like Shredder and Krang are just, I like them, but they're not going to outsmart you. Baxter could outsmart you. I'm a Baxter Stockman fan for sure. And Krang, well, Bebop and Rocksteady are probably my number 2, and then Krang would probably round out the top 3. Thanks for writing in, X Jude. I'm just Cyan. I hope I'm saying that right. Cyan wrote in and said, "So I'm eager to jump into the Final Fantasy games, but I don't know where to start, seeing as there's 15 of them. I also don't understand, why would they remake 7 instead of the first one, or is that normal?" So I get a lot of messages from people asking me like, "Yo, I've never played Final Fantasy. I want to jump into the series. Where should I begin?" And I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that, because I'm not that big a Final Fantasy fan, and I've played about 2/3 of the games in the series, I think now, the mainline series. So for starters, where should you start? You can pretty well start wherever you want, because with the exception of direct sequels like Final Fantasy X and X-2, Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, 13-3, they all stand apart. Like, you can play Final Fantasy 8 and it has nothing to do with Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy 7 has nothing to do with Final Fantasy 6, like that kind of stuff. So you can start anywhere you want. I think most, and fuck, I'm going to catch shit for this, most longtime Final Fantasy fans would probably say 6, 7, and 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. I think those are pretty well agreed upon to be among the best the series has to offer. I think if you were to poll everybody, Final Fantasy 6 would be rated the best, which is Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo. So if you want to play one, I would recommend starting with Final Fantasy 3/6 or Final Fantasy 7 probably. But you can start anywhere you want. And if you're wondering why would they remake 7 instead of 1, it's just because 7 is such a big, 7 put PlayStation on the map. 7 transitioned. Final Fantasy 7 is to Final Fantasy what Mario 64 is to Mario. So it's just that big and revolutionary of title. I think that's why. And it works really well with its remake as well, in case you're wondering why they decided to go with that one. That would be my recommendation. I'm sure if you go on our Discord, you could get 1,000 inputs, but I think 6 and 7 are probably 2 of the games that a lot of people would recommend starting with. I started with 4, which is 2 on the Super Nintendo. But anyway, I'm just going around in circles. There you go. Casey Adcock wrote in and said, "New listener here. I've been plowing through your content to help work go by, and I really appreciate your blunt outlook on things. It's refreshing to hear someone call it like it is on some gaming goats. Fable and Symphony of the Night, I'm looking at you, and not being afraid of the backlash. With that being said, my question is this. Bang, marry, and kill Zelda, Samus, and Lara Croft. Thanks for all the laughs, dude. Be safe and keep up the good work." Well, thank you, Casey. And I will... kill Zelda, because Zelda bugs me. I don't know. Because she can turn into a ninja, but she always just lets Link get out there and fucking risk his life. Or at least one Zelda can. So I'll kill Zelda right away. And then as far as banging one and marrying one, I will marry Samus because I think she would protect me. And then I just have a crush on Lara Croft. So that which goes back to junior high. So yeah, there's my logic. But I'm now married to Samus. And now I can say whatever the fuck I want because I got fucking Samus protecting me. And finally, before we move on, it's letter time. It's letter time. Darren Dickey wrote in and said, Adam, first time blower here. Do you think the more classic era of video games were better at telling a good story, or do you think the modern era is doing a better job of it? Games like the Final Fantasy series told amazing stories through just reading in the early days, but their modern era has epics like Horizon Zero Dawn and The Last of Us. I hear this debate a lot, and I'm curious as to your take on it. Thanks. That's a good question. So what genre or what era is better at telling a story? Retro games with text or modern game? You know what? Listen, I think you all know I love retro games. I would probably only play retro if I had to choose between them and modern. But if you want just storytelling, as great as some classic stories are, I do think modern games are better at telling stories. I think just with the voice acting and the motion capture and the cinematics and better music and better at writing and better fucking production values and and I'm not saying retro games can't tell a good story, so don't fucking come at me and say that. Of course they can, but I'm just answering the question. Do I think modern games are better at it or retro games? I think be honest, I think retro games by and large are more fun. I think modern games are a better experience and like a better story, more like playing a movie. I hope that makes sense. I think Mega Man 2 is more fun to play than The Last of Us. But The Last of Us is one of the greatest examples of storytelling in the history of video games. Whereas Mega Man 2, its story sucks. And I know that's a weird comparison, but I just mean that like as a whole. I think modern games, there's something about retro games where they can't rely on cinematics and great stories and voice acting and everything like that. They had to make the game fun. Dragon Warrior has like the shittiest story of any video game ever. It's just really fun. Right? Whereas like fucking Final Fantasy 15, I mean, I don't think that game's very fun or tells a good story, but it had a lot more to work with. So retro games are more fun. Modern games tell a better story. I'm going around in circles again. Thanks, Darren, and thanks to everybody that wrote in this week. I appreciate it. Let's switch things up and let's get into our Smash Hits segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. Play one, remake one. I just hit the microphone with my water. Erase one. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for Play One, Remake One. I just hit the microphone with my water, erase one. Well, I'm not going to keep calling it that. Fuck off. The rules are simple. Most weeks, I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one, they can remake one, they can erase one. This week, we're going to go with 3 entire consoles and their libraries. We have the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, and the Nintendo DS. So you can play one library in its entirety. You can remake or add to one library, and the third library and console never existed. Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS. As always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one. We'll get there in a minute. 39% of you said you'd play the Nintendo DS, remake the Game Boy Advance, and erase the Game Boy Color. And that breaks my heart. I can't put 39% of you on double secret probation because I can't see who all voted which way, but the 39% of you that voted that way are on goddamn double secret probation. Let me tell you, or let's see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right fucking answer is, and it's not that one. Ronnie Wells wrote in and said, I'm sorry to let the Game Boy Color go, but I have to play the Nintendo DS, and the Game Boy Advance has always been a big part of my childhood, and seeing some of those games remade would be awesome. You fucking kids. I get it. It's just, I was like in high school when the Game Boy Color came out. It pains me to, you can't. Anyway. Sorry, Ronnie, you're on double secret probation. I'm sorry. Josh Chapman, pardon me, said, play the Game Boy Advance. This is the handheld I grew up on and have the most memories of playing. Pokemon trading with friends was the shit in school. Remake the Game Boy Color. My older brother had one, and although I did use it a few times, it isn't the console I grew up using, and I have nostalgia for it. And erase the DS. I never owned one, and I remember the other kids playing Mario Kart on bus rides, and I always felt left out. It may be petty, but I have no issue erasing it. You know what? Pettiness, because you didn't have the console all the other kids had, is a perfectly reasonable reason to erase something. No problem with that answer at all. Nicole Novak said, hear me out. I'll play the Nintendo DS because that is where the nostalgia is for me. I can still remember the Christmas I opened my DSi XL. I was so excited. Remake the Game Boy Advance because I never had one, but from what I heard, the games were great. I would love to see an updated version now and get a chance to play them. Play the ones I missed out on, and sadly, that leaves the Game Boy Color to be erased. Double secret probation, Nicole. Your logic makes sense, but I can't allow anyone to just throw shade at my precious Game Boy Color. Peter wrote in and said, play the Nintendo DS because it's still irrelevant today. Remake the Game Boy Advance since it was a game changer back in the day. And erase the Game Boy Color since there was no real big jump versus the Game Boy. I somewhat agree with your logic, Peter, but as someone that spent countless hours imagining what my Game Boy games would look like with a few shades of color in them, it may not be a giant leap, but my God, it was like going from black and white television to color television. I can't go back. So you got to go on double secret probation as well, my friend. I'm sorry. And TomTom1313 said, I would play the Game Boy Advance. I think those games are great as they are, and they felt as if they emulated the SNES Genesis era of games perfectly. That time period of gaming is just timeless. I'll remake the Game Boy Color. I have great memories of playing Mario Land and Pokemon, but taking off the nostalgia goggles, having no lighting and the same 3 sound samples in games like Pokemon, it could definitely use an update, which means I'm erasing the DS. I always felt the dual screen and touchpad were gimmicky at best, and some games that ignored the touch, or I sought games that ignored the touch screen. The 3DS utilized the dual screen much better, so I have no problem saying bye to the DS as I often forget about this era in portable gaming. I can live with that logic. I get that. I'm going with 13% of you this week, including Philip Aranda, who said, I'm a Game Boy addict. I'm going to play the Game Boy Color as it's a step up from that original puke green Game Boy. Remake the Game Boy Advance. The form factor is far superior and comfortable for long playthroughs. Plus, you have the option to play all original Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance games. Nintendo can actually add a backlit screen like it should have from day one. I remember buying the Advance with my own money only to have the SP come out a few months later with a backlit screen. I was so pissed. And then finally erased the DS because fuck that system, it's not a Game Boy. I don't know if I hate it enough to say fuck that system because it's not a Game Boy, but I do agree with your order, Philip. I'm going to play the Game Boy Color because I fucking love the original Game Boy because I grew up with that motherfucker and I can't get rid of it. I'm going to remake the Game Boy Advance because I missed a lot of its best games, and as I slowly catch up, I find myself falling in love with that system. So I'm going to remake them. I don't want to remake any of the games that exist. I just want to make more Game Boy Advance games because I fucking love that goddamn thing. And I'm going to also erase the Nintendo DS because I liked it fine, but I have a Vita, I have a PSP, I've got a Switch, I've got mobile. I can live without it. I never found myself that in love with the DS, to be honest with you. Yeah, I could probably only count on, Link Between Worlds, Fire Emblem Awakening, Mario 3D Land. That's really all I need for my 3DS. So, the DS, and those are 3DS. Those aren't even, whatever. DS can go away. Fucking stupid system. Thanks to everybody that wrote in and played this week. As always, let me tell you what I've been playing over the last 3 weeks while I've been away. And then we'll get into talking Pokemon Gen 2. I actually was playing Pokemon Gen 2. I finally finished that fucking game. Jesus Christ. We'll get there in a minute. I'm right at the end of Ratchet & Clank for the PS2. That'll actually probably be next week's episode of Remember the Game. So I'll tell you what I think about it then. I've relapsed on Slay the Spire. I've also relapsed on Into the Breach since they just released a new update for it. It's fucking sick. If you like roguelike tactical games, for the love of God, check out Into the Breach. It's on everything. It's incredible. I beat Metroid for the NES on my Switch while I was on holidays, so that episode's coming up soon. I've been playing WWE 2K22 with my nephew Ben while he's here, and I've been playing Silent Hill 3, and you won't find out anything I think about that until I record an episode about it in the next few weeks. Lots of gaming over the last month or so. Let's talk Pokemon Gen 2. That's why you're here. As always, I like to give my listeners a couple of chances to sound off on the game we're talking about before my guests and I hog the mic. We got almost 80 comments this week from listeners. Everybody loves Pokemon Gen 2. I'm just going to rip through a couple because I still have to get to my chat with Dean Donian and then obviously my chat with Miklos. Dissect That Film wrote in and said, more Pokemon, more gyms, and just way more time you could put into this game. That was ideal for me as a kid when we make our 2-day road trips from Massachusetts to Florida for vacation. Pokemon Gen 2 is where my love for Pokemon kind of ended. The remakes were some of the best Pokemon games ever made. I have heard that those remakes are great. Speaking of those, the Mustard Tiger wrote in and said, oh man, I've been waiting for this episode forever. Oh, I was like, GSC, what's that? But Gold, Silver, Crystal are one of my favorite games in the series. Although they're not perfect, lack of evolution stones early on in the game, difficulty spikes, way too easy of a post-game, etc. These games have more heart than most Pokemon games and were a worthy follow-up to the originals. I really wish Game Freak would have continued the tradition of putting 2 regions to explore back into the games, as that is easily the best feature of these. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do, and if you've never played them, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the DS remakes, are the superior versions, and in my opinion, the best games in the series. Play them if you get a chance. I hear that Heart Gold and Soul Silver are very good, but I have not played them. Caleb Nunez wrote in and said, I remember getting this game when it came out, being blown away by how good it looked compared to my Pokemon Blue version. Getting to play through Johto and then going back through Kanto and culminating in an epic final battle with Red on Mount Silver was an amazing adventure. The music in this game was on point as well. I didn't do the final fight against Red. I'm scared of him. But yeah, no, listen, I'm not even going to reply. You're going to hear my thoughts because I have 2 fucking conversations about this game coming up. And Big Hebrew wrote in and said, so I've never hosted past Blue and Red. I don't hosted. All right. Definitely logged several hundred lifetime hours of my Game Boy cartridges, which I still have. And is infinite simile. Is that a word? Infinite simile? It's not underlined. I guess it is. Which I still have, and is infinite simile better than Red. What the fuck is that word? Infinite simile. Anyways, emulators, and of course my Super Game Boy for the SNES. With my obsessive personality, I'm afraid to start Gen 2 and get sucked in. Mr. Blank / Magic 8 Ball, what should I do? So basically, Big Hebrew is saying, I fucking love the original games. I have not played Gen 2. Should I? You should. I will say, Big Hebrew, as a lifelong drum beater, that Pokemon Gen 1 is the best generation of Pokemon. This generation is better. There are some things about this generation I fucking hate, and you're going to hear about that in a minute, but I think as a whole, yeah, not only is, I would say, Pokemon Gen 2 better than Pokemon Gen 1, I would say this is among like the best sequels in the history of video games. Like, these games are that, if you like Gen 1, there's no reason not to love Gen 2. It's fucking insane how much meat is on these bones. And we're going to get into that right now. First, Dean Donian and I are going to talk about why these games mean so much to him, why he speedruns them like a monster, and why he decided to sponsor this episode. And then my buddy Miklos and I are going to talk about Pokemon Gen 2 for another hour or so. So I'm going to cue up some Pokemon Gen 2 music. I'm nervous. Please be gentle. I'm scared of you, Pokemaniacs, but here we go. We're talking Pokemon Gold and Silver, which originally released in North America on the Game Boy Color on October 15th, 2000. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. All right, so as I'm sure I'll have mentioned during the intro of this week's episode, this was one of our illustrious sponsored episodes where a member of the community puts their hard-earned money down and says, forget democracy. I just want to say the game you're going to play, and then I fucking play it. And, you all know the rules at this point. And longtime supporter of the show, Dean Donian. I said it right, you said. I say it right?
You got it, man.
Fucking right. I was bound to get somebody's fucking name right. Fuck yeah. Dean Donian sponsored this week's episode of Pokemon Gen 2. And dude, you messaged me about this, admittedly, like, fuck, this was like, I feel like it was 3 or 4 months ago. And I'm just a slow piece of shit. But I'm finally there. So let me ask you, first off, let me say, how are you? I'll ask how you're doing.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I should have done that like a minute ago. That's polite. I should have asked how you're doing. I will shut up for a minute and I'll ask you, like, I feel like this is a pretty obvious answer because I know a lot of people listening to this love Pokemon Gen 2, but I will still ask you, why did you pick Pokemon Gen 2?
Oh, man. There's so many reasons, but if I had to boil it all down, I mean, I grew up with Gen 1 playing Red and Blue religiously. And I just remember when Gen 2 came out, it felt like one of the greatest sequels that I had experienced at that time. Just all the little improvements, a lot of large improvements. It was like Gen 1, but just with so much more packed in and so many like quality of life improvements. Mm-hmm. And just added a lot of things that kind of laid the groundwork for what Pokemon is today. So,
yeah, I agree. I say it on our, because we've already recorded the game chat part that'll be going on after this. And I said it in there, but like, I always talk about how Super Nintendo games are just this incredible, like, they take like NES games and just make them better, like Mario, Zelda, Metroid, you know what I'm saying? I understand that this is like the Game Boy Color is not exactly the technological leap from the Game Boy that the Super Nintendo is to the NES, but Pokemon Gen 2 feels like the Super Nintendo version of Pokemon Gen 1. Like, it literally was better in like every possible way.
Yeah.
No,
exactly. I mean, just there's so many small things. Like one of the smallest things that I absolutely love is just registering something to select. Like, being able to put
Yes.
your bike as select and you don't have to go into the menu every time. Like,
Yes. And we forgot to mention that on the main episode. And I was like, that's one of those things that I would have taken shit
Mhm.
for not mentioning. So thank you for saving me, because I know I'm going to take shit for this episode because I forgot to mention something. But yeah, that's such a I set a fishing pole to select, and then I was such a dumbass. And then finally one day I was like, oh, I should put my bike. I was like, I'm never even using the fishing pole. Why don't I set it to my bike? And that was a fucking life changer, man. Holy Christ.
yeah.
When you so what okay, so gold or silver?
So I
Or
grew
are
up
you the
on
third?
silver.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. I've played all three now, and I like all of them for different reasons. Because I grew up playing silver,
Yeah,
so that's like my first love for Gen 2.
sure.
When I got into speed running, I found out that gold was the better speed game. So I learned how to play that for speed
Now
running
what
purposes.
why is it the better speed running game?
You know, I'm still kind of new to speedrunning, so I
Okay.
don't remember all of the intricacies. I think it has something to do with what wilds you find and at what point.
Okay.
I think that's why, but I don't know for sure. So,
Okay.
but yeah, and then I've been playing Crystal, pretty much for the last like 3 months, because there's like a whole ROM hack you can do, to do speed running on that game too, with like randomized items and things like that. So,
Holy fuck.
yeah, all three of them, man. But silver was my first love.
Okay. So then I was gonna ask you about your starter, but before I do that,
Mhm.
I'll put you on the spot. Have you finished a speed run of it? Like, have you got a time?
Yeah, I finished a few glitchless gold runs. I want to say like 325, maybe.
Bullshit. Are you like both regions, or is like a speed run in this beating the Elite Four and then being
No,
like
it's
I'm
both. You have to beat red. Beat red is
you could
the
beat Red in 3 hours?
yeah.
You're
Yep.
a freak.
And
Jesus
I need to
Christ.
double check to make sure that time is right, but I want to say like 325 is my PB for gold version with no manips and no glitches.
What the fuck? Dude, it took me 45 hours and I didn't beat Red. I got all the badges and everything, both regions, and I was like, I'm done. 3 hours. I can't fucking, it takes me 3 hours to 100% Super Mario World. And you can beat this. What the fuck? What kind of Pokemon do you have against Red in 3 hours?
You run for alligator. You take Totodile and you run with that.
What the
You
fuck?
catch some HM friends along the way. But yeah, you're running for alligator.
Holy
Use lots of
Christ.
X items is the key to beating red.
That's insanity. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so that fucking 3 hours. Jesus Christ. This is like, I like speed runs, but I can't watch them of RPG. I tried to watch a speed run of Earthbound once, and I can't do it because Earthbound's one of my favorite games ever. And it like broke the game for me because I saw the ways that I was like, oh, apparently I just actually suck at this game, and it's not very, very hard at all. Holy Christ, 3 hours. Okay, starter. Who's your starter? Who's your preferred starter?
Preferred starter is Cyndaquil.
Okay.
It's either Cyndaquil or Totodile. I never went with Chikorita, but
Aw.
yeah, but
No love for the grass. Nobody loves the
Yep.
grass. I don't know why.
But yeah, my preferred was always Cyndaquil so that I could catch a Magikarp and level it up to a Gyarados. That would be my Watermon. So
So, well, what? Okay, so I fucking, it's not a beef with this game because it's not the game's fault, but that Magikarp is my favorite Pokemon, and I always catch one and grind it into Gyarados. I did that in this game, and then about an hour after I fucking finished grinding my Magikarp, I got to an area where they were like, "There's a red Gyarados there, just catch him and he's yours." And I was like, "Well, for fuck's sakes!"
yep,
Like I
yep.
probably would have knocked 5 hours off my playthrough if I wasn't grinding to level up a goddamn Magikarp. Fucking assholes. But that's sick though. I wanted to ask you, because you're obviously a bigger Pokemon fan than I am, and Miklos and I get into this on the main show, but like, what do you think of the new classes and the rebalancing, like the types and stuff? Because I feel like this game, like we all know in Gen 1, if you've got a couple of psychic Pokemon, you're pretty much untouchable. I really think they did a good job fixing that in this one and cleaning it up anyways.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love the introduction of the new types. I know one of the knocks some people have on Gen 2 is they introduce new types and not a whole lot of moves for them. But I mean, dark type, steel type, so sick. And yeah, it just felt a little bit more balanced than Gen 1 did. I mean, you you can break the game in Gen 1 depending on what type of Pokemon you're running.
Totally.
And so yeah, that was just great. New types, the new Pokemon were great. Yeah, no, I think it's awesome.
And then adding in the fact that like, and we talked about this in the main part, so like spoilers obviously, but like you and I were talking about this off air, the fucking value, like the amount of hours you get, bro. Holy Christ! Like there's 2 games in here, kind of.
Exactly.
Like a game in 3/4, anyways.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the Gen 1 side isn't like completely fleshed out, but like, yeah. I mean, we were talking. Like you said, we were talking about it where if you're a kid and you get this game, you can sink months into this thing. Yeah. And that's really what it was meant for, because there's different events for different days of the week. You got like different people you can find who will give you special items depending on what day it is. There's day night cycles. I mean, this was made to be a game that you spend a lot of time with. And so that's one of the things that just makes it really special. And so before I started, I used to speedrun Red version. And before I started speedrunning Gen 2, I was like, I'm going to do just a vanilla playthrough, play it just like classic ways so that I can enjoy it one last time before I start breaking it.
Sure. Yeah, because I imagine it's hard to go back and just play like normal once you know how to cheese it and everything, right? Yeah,
definitely.
I believe that. Yeah, that's something I was saying to you off air too. Just like I truly feel this generation is why Pokemon is the phenomenon that it is. Because they could have mailed in the sequel to Gen 1 and still made $1 billion and been great. But like my God, dude, I'm not a huge RPG fan. I'm not a huge Pokemon fan. And I finished this and I was like, I refuse to let anybody write into this show and say that they half-assed this game or that this was a bad, like is this your favorite? Is this your favorite Pokemon, Gen 2?
It is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's a lot of people's favorite. And now that I've played it, I'm like, I get it. There's literally like, I can't think of, is there anything you don't like? Like, is there any big faults in this game?
The only thing, and spoilers for anyone who hasn't finished the game. The only real knock that I have on this game is the difficulty spike for that battle with Red at the very end.
Oh, Christ.
After you get through all 16 badges, beat the Elite Four, beat all the gym leaders, you go to Mount Silver and you get hit with a level 80. And it's like, all right.
Yeah.
As a kid, yeah, there was no chance.
But the thing about because I agree with you, like to the point where I didn't do that battle because I was like, I can't beat that. There were the first member of the Elite Four in the first region that has all the psychic Pokemon. I didn't have anything equipped to go. I didn't have anything electric or anything to stand up to it. I had a bitch of a time. Once I got through that fight, I steamrolled the rest, but I struggled with that fight. And then I can't remember, but there's one of the gym traders that has this cow.
Oh, Whitney, the classic.
Yeah, Mick and I bring that up on the main show, and that cow fucked me up. I do agree with you. There's a couple of difficulty spikes, but the thing I like about RPGs is that, like, I don't mean to say they're easy, but like, if you're stuck, you can always, in theory, just go grind, and then come back with all these level 99, legendaries and shit like that, and fuck Red up. I love the way they reference the first game so often too, or the first generation. I thought that was really, really cool because I never really noticed that Pokemon games went in unison with each other. Like, I always just thought they were standalone titles, and the way they reference like beating Team Rocket, and then the way that like the main character from Gen 1 is there and Red is there, and I really got a kick out of that as well. Just fan service to the fucking 9, man.
Oh yeah. Oh, and also, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention best rival out of any Pokemon game.
Yes.
You gotta love how much of an asshole this guy is.
Such a dick. Like, we talk about that too, Mick and I, and I'm like, dude, like, most of the times your rival is just like this arrogant dickhead who's like, I'm gonna be the best, better than you, blah blah blah. I swear that like your rival in this game like eats Pokemon, like just a piece of shit. Runs like a cockfighting ring, like underground, like just awful person, which I thought was great because like oh fuck, what was the name of the? Have you played Sword Shield?
Yeah. Hop. Hop. Yeah.
And you're just like, go the fuck away. You're annoying. Yeah. Whereas like this guy, I was like, you're a wrestling villain. You're a great fucking enemy in this game. I loved it.
Yeah.
So I had one other question for you, and then
sure.
Have you played the remakes?
I haven't. I have. I had a DS and I had it, and I never beat it before selling it to pay for something dumb in college. But everyone
fucking education. What a waste of
yeah.
money. I got rid of my Pokemon so I could get an education. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I've been meaning to get to it. Everyone gets on me for never playing through them, but no, I've not actually beaten them.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I hear they're great. So before we score this, I always like to ask, was there anything else about this game that you wanted to get off your chest, or like the world's listening? If there was anything you missed or any other point you wanted to make about this game or anything like that before we score it and everything.
I mean, yeah. So really just the main thing is just playing this game when it came out was just so mind blowing. There was so much to it compared to Gen 1 that I don't know if I've experienced anything like that in my gaming career since personally. You know, I know everyone's got their different tastes and different sequels, but Pokemon was like my thing growing up. So, and they're just, you know, the day night cycles. When Crystal dropped, you could finally pick between a boy and a girl character model. The item packs, being able to shift through your bag. And then the legendaries. I mean, you got Ho-Oh and Lugia, but then you have these 3 dogs that are running around, and you have to hunt. You basically have to hunt them down, and just adds a whole new difficulty to getting all the legendaries under wraps. And yeah, I mean, it's just, you can see it to this day. There's so much of a lasting impact, and there's a whole community based around modding this generation because people still love it. So
yeah, I feel like I mean, maybe not everyone agrees with me, but like the reason Gen 1 has always been my favorite is partially because I grew up with them, and partially because I like I like the simplicity. I feel like some of the modern ones have gotten a little too complicated for my taste. I like them simple, you know, and I feel like Gen 2 walked up to the line without crossing it and making things too like, maybe it's a dumb comparison, but to me, Pokemon Gen 2 is Super Mario Brothers 3 to Pokemon Gen 1's Super Mario Brothers. Like, speaking to a franchise that I like, it's just literally an improvement in every single aspect, but still feels kind of the same. Like, I admittedly, dude, like when you sponsored this episode, I was like, all right, well, I'll finally play it. But I was like, there's no way I'm going to get that into it. Like, it's fucking Pokemon. And I put 45 hours in. And when I finished it, I was like, holy fuck, that is an incredible fucking RPG. Handheld. Like, I get it. It's probably my favorite generation now. Like, it's probably unseated Pokemon Gen 1 is my favorite generation of Pokemon because it's just better in every fucking way.
That's high praise.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
Except for Red. Red can fucking eat some ass. I hate that. So we got to score this thing. What does the Pokedex end at? 251?
Oh, man. I want to say
251.
It's either 251 or 256. I can't remember.
I think it's 251. We're going to catch shit for getting it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm looking right now. Pokemon Gen 2 Pokedex. Don't yell at us, everybody. Fucking, you all know you should not come into my shows expecting fucking 251 is Celebi?
Oh, yep. Okay.
Whatever the fuck that thing is. So okay, so then that's the score then. We'll score it out of 251. Dude, what would you score Pokemon Gen 2 out of 251?
Oh my gosh. I'm so biased. But no. I'm going 249. I'm taking 2 points off because of the red battle at the end. But fair. Other than that, there's nothing. I can't complain about anything.
Yeah.
Personally.
I get that. No, I get it. You'll hear my score in about an hour, everybody. But like, I gave it a pretty goddamn good score too. There's, outside of the fact that it's not Super Mario World, I really don't have anything to complain about with this game. It's outstanding. Dude, thank you so much for your long-term support. You've been a member of this community forever, and obviously for your support today and sponsoring this episode and everything. You mentioned that your speed runs, people can see you working on them on the internet. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm still a novice, so don't come around expecting any professional level speed runs. But I'm, if you want to watch some Gen 2 or Gen 1 speed running, I do red any percent glitchless, and I do Pokemon Crystal version full item randomizers. And you can find me on Twitch TV /Dean Donian, DEENDONIAN.
Awesome. And you guys will be able to find that link in the description of this episode as well. If you want to swing by and yell at Dean Donian and watch him try to beat Pokemon in 3, fuck you. Fucking, I don't think I was done the first gym in fucking 3 hours, for fuck's sakes. God, I suck at video games. Bro, it's been great meeting you, I guess, virtually, and great talking to you. And again, just thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it.
Yeah, same here, man. Thanks for having me.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/RememberTheGame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/RememberTheGame. Okay. Oh God. I'm not dreading this episode, but I'm nervous. Pokemon terrifies me. Joining me via the blank phone this week is a good buddy of mine, returning to the show, longtime guest, my pal Miklos. And Mick, before shit hits the fan with Pokemon, let's get the civilities out of the way. I don't know if that's a real word or not, but how are you? How's things?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'll feel better when this episode is live and no one's threatened to kill me or anything.
I mean, I may do that anyways.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfect, because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to Remember the Game, if you look in our library or archives, we have 3 Pokemon episodes. We've covered Gen 1 twice, and then we've covered a game from Gen 3. And despite the fact that I start every episode warning people that I don't know everything about Pokemon, that's not what this podcast is. Please don't yell at me if I forget something. It never fails. When we did Gen 1, both times, people were like, you didn't bring up missing no? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. I'm just...
That's a cheat thing. That's not really part of the game.
Well, I hear about it.
It's like a glitch.
So I'll ask you, because here's the thing. You've never yelled at me for not bringing up missing go or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
But I do know that you're a diehard Pokemon fan, and
yes.
I know that it's made your eye twitch, some of those episodes, because I know how passionate you are about Pokemon, and you and I have talked about covering Gen 2 forever, so this lines up perfectly.
Yeah, since like the beginning, I think.
Yeah, and I never played them until this time, and first of all, let me just say, if anyone gets mad because I didn't bring up anything this time, please just yell at Mick instead of me, because I can't take it anymore. You fucking Pokemon fans terrify me. You're so hardcore.
Yeah, fucking yell at me. It's fine.
You're hardcore. I can take it. That said, okay, so we got the disclaimer out of the way that Adam doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me just say, I played Pokemon Gold. Everyone, I'll ask you, because a lot of people say Gen 2 is the best generation ever. So I'll ask you, is this the number 1 for you?
Yeah, it's definitely number 1.
Now, why?
Just how much they expanded and made the game like a lot more playable. Like really everything, they did so much in the expansion that like you just didn't see in like any other game really. They have, the day and time things that go on, so like there's stuff to do on certain days of the week to catch Pokemon. You can only catch Pokemon at certain times of the day. There's just so many little things that made the game like you want to play it every day.
Yeah I gotta say,
and 16 gyms.
Yeah, bro, holy fuck. I gotta say, like, So I've played Gen 1, now I've played Gen 2, I've played Gen 3, and then I don't think I played another one until Pokemon XY.
Yeah.
And then I played XY, I've played Sword Shield and stuff. And then Arceus, whatever. I fucking hate that game. But
The Animal Crossing of Pokemon games.
yeah, like I didn't hate it, but like I said it on my show last week. It was it was too talky. I was like, just like shut up and let me catch Pokemon. Like I don't need a goddamn novel. Like anyway, we're talking Gen 2.
Okay.
I gotta say, I think I get it. Like I've always said Gen 1 is my favorite because I'm such a fair weather Pokemon fan to begin with, and I grew up with Gen 1. You know, like that's lots of us did. And I have so much nostalgia for that generation. But the thing is like I found, and this may be an unpopular opinion, I find that like future generations, I almost get overwhelmed with the shinies and the breeding and going after the perfect stats and the team battles. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and the fucking sheer amount of like the number of Pokemon, and I find myself overwhelmed. That's what I've always liked about Gen 1 is it was simple. And I think you're right. This generation it was Gen 1 on steroids without getting too crazy.
They fixed like everything that was wrong in Gen 1.
Yeah, like it was a good and a bad thing because listen, I'm a psychic guy. Like I always have to have a Kadabra. I never have an Alakazam because I don't have anyone to trade with, but I always have to have a Kadabra on my team because in Gen 1, they were supermen and women. Like they were untouchable.
There was nothing to touch them, yeah.
Excuse me, no. And in this one, like they're still pretty powerful, but you're right, they did kind of balance it out a little bit. And I don't know, man. I was playing through this game and like it's fucking long, and we're gonna get into that. And that really is maybe my only major. I don't even know if I want to call it a criticism. It's not a criticism. If I had had this game as a kid, I never would have stopped playing it. But as an adult, like on a schedule, I was like, fuck me. There's still a whole second game at the end of this. Like I need to get this done. But I finished it, and I was like, God damn, yeah, I get it.
When you say finish, did you beat Red?
No, no, sir. And let me just get that out of the way right now. And then, all right, we'll start there. Let's start there. I did not fight Red, and I looked it up because I as I beat all the second I got all the second set of badges, and then I fought the. Obviously, we're gonna drop spoilers. Obviously, it's fucking like a.
This game is fucking old. It's like 30 years.
Like I did all of that and like basically was like done the game. I even looked it up. I was like, other than obviously I'm not going to complete the Pokedex or anything. I was like, what's left? And they said, you can go fight Red from, but they were like, I read his I can't remember what level the Pokemon that Red has in this game, but it was like level 70 or something.
I think he's got like a level 90 Pikachu or something
like that
too.
And I finished the game in like the mid 50s. And I was like, I am like, all due respect to you and to everyone involved. I like this game, but I was like, I put like 45 hours into this, and I was like, I am not grinding another 10 hours so that I can fucking hike up this mountain and fight one. Like, I'll look it up on YouTube. I'm done. So I did not do that. But so that's a great place to start. That's the hardest battle in the game. Yes.
Yes.
Have you beaten him?
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course you would.
Yeah.
You're fucking Miklos Blackjaw. Of course you fucking beat him. Is it worth it?
I mean, you feel good. I mean, he's fucking hard.
I believe
that. And it kind of gives you a sense of accomplishment. Like, I know when I first played this game back in high school, like I had several level 100 Pokemon, right? Just because I loved the game, right?
Sure.
But like before getting a bunch of level 100 Pokemon and going there and getting like a Tyranitar and stuff, or the Larvitar to get Tyranitar, it is a fucking it's a fucking accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
You kind of got to grind through the Elite Four a lot. I mean, there's other things too. Particularly there's if you do like, I kind of cheated a little because I had one of each. And I went and did
wait, sorry, what do you mean one of each? Like gold and silver?
Like I had a gold and a silver at one point.
Yeah.
And a couple Game Boys so I could trade with myself and make the team that I wanted.
Right.
And what you can do, there's a cheat you can do with the trading where you can duplicate or not with trading, with the saving where you can duplicate Pokemon and items.
Oh, okay.
So I would make like a high level team
Yeah.
and then give an experience share to someone for like super leveling. And what you do is you give it to the other player, like the other cartridge, and then you fight that high level team. So I'd make like 6 whatever for alligators, right? And I'd have like a high level electric Pokemon
Yeah.
that would just sweep it,
Okay.
and you get like fucking massive experience once a day,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so you go into this place in Viridian City,
Okay.
and you can fight this battle once a day, but it's just so much experience, so you can level Pokemon real fast.
Okay.
And so like there are little things that you can do like that.
See,
And
this
I mean,
is...
you could
Go ahead.
if you had one Pokemon, like again, through like cheating, I had someone game sharked me a Mew, and Mew can learn like all of the like every single TM.
Oh, fuck.
So-
Seriously? Okay.
Yeah, so I had a level 100 Mew who could just sweep the Elite Four.
This is why I was like, I'm bringing Mick on, not only because I know he's passionate about this generation, but I was like, half of what you said, only half made sense to me. But I know that all the diehard Pokemon fans are like, yes, and they get it. I'm like, thank fuck. I got a ringer that knows this fucking franchise, because I'm so like, fuck me. I fucking grinded every generation of Pokemon. I catch a Magikarp's my favorite Pokemon. And I catch a Magikarp, and I grind him into a... Do you say Gyarados? That's how I say it.
Yep.
Okay. And I grind him into a Gyarados. And I fucking did it in this game. And then, like, minutes after my Magikarp became a Gyarados, I hit a point where they're like, oh, you can catch this red fucking Gyarados. And I was just like, you slimy motherfuckers. And that's what I was just like... And it just... I was
Well,
like...
yeah, this is where they introduced shinies, right?
See, I don't know. That's the other... Okay, so, like...
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you could catch Gen 1 shinies. This is something else that's kind of cool.
But, like,
If you
wait,
had to-
what's the... So, like, I'm... Oh, my God. I'm going to get so many messages.
Okay.
What's a shiny?
So they're like the different colored Pokemon. So like the red Gyarados is a shiny Gyarados.
Oh, so I
right?
have a
And
shiny.
The shiny Magikarp is gold.
Oh, shit. Oh,
Yeah.
and because this is Pokemon Game Boy Color, you can see their colors.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always thought shiny was like they looked the same, but they would have like a little star on them that like showed that they were like glittering or whatever.
Yeah. They come in this gen. They came in with like a little like starburst
Okay.
to
I
help
see.
help identify it.
So-
So you're not but yeah, you could also catch Gen 1 shinies. It was something that was in the code.
Okay.
So like certain Pokemon have like certain kind of stats in Gen 1, and you could trade them over to your Gen 2 and they would come out shiny.
Oh, I see. Okay. So
Right,
then,
so
like,
it was something they had-
are shinies like other than just being the fact that they're rare? Like, are they more powerful or anything, or are they just like the same?
I think so. I honestly I never really cared.
Okay, thank you. All right, because I didn't.
Right.
Like, I kind of knew shinies existed, and some people talk about hunting shinies, and I've never wanted to just be like, what is that? But I was like, I don't even know what the fuck that is. I just...
It's kind of like like completing the Pokédex like a second time.
I see. Okay, I got you.
Right?
Okay.
And
okay.
I mean, like, it's more like particularly for like if you're fighting people online and stuff, it's kind of like a status thing,
I see. Okay.
right?
All right.
So you like grind out trying to get your shiny Pokemon, right?
Well,
Because it's like one in like fucking I don't know, like 2,500 or something.
Fuck that. This is why,
Right.
like, I feel like if I walked into like an online Pokemon like Discord or like whatever, like people battling online, and I walked in with my like shit team, they would just be like, "Sir, just can you leave?" Like right now, like
yeah, like the shiny Charizard is black.
oh fuck.
Which looks fucking like some of them look real fucking cool.
Okay, but now let me
Right?
say, like, that's rad. It just sucks that Charizard is a bitch, because otherwise that would be really cool.
You shut your fucking mouth.
We'll get into. Okay, so we should get into this game. I like because oh god, I'm so scared of this episode. You guys don't even know. Some of you that are listening to like the first time, like I'm like fuck you guys. I take so much shit for the Pokemon episodes because people are so. I'm scared.
This game too introduced a lot. Like you're like, some of this is fucking real easy, right? But then like you walk into some of these gyms and the fucking their like main Pokemon or whatever are tough.
Dude, let me say,
Right.
I wanted to ask you that. That's a great point because that's where I wanted to go. I have said on multiple occasions that like it's not even necessarily a gripe I have with Pokemon. I just sometimes wish they were a little bit tougher. And I'm like, if they can make a computer that can beat like the world's best chess players at chess, you can't convince me they couldn't put an AI in that plays with a little bit more strategy. And I've always said that, but there were a couple of gyms and motherfuck the first member of the Elite Four where I was getting fucking annihilated. And it was like, because I thought I had a pretty well-balanced team, but I didn't have anyone that could cover the right weaknesses. And I like, you've played more of these games than me. Like, I'm not wrong that this is one of the tougher.
No, yeah, it is. And like, and specifically, like, usually they give you like a Pokemon or like a couple Pokemon you can use that to go against the gym, like prior to getting there.
Like in that area.
But in this, like, you know, like, for instance, before you do the 8th gym badge that's the dragon one. They have like that ice cavern, but those fucking Pokemon suck.
Yeah, right? I caught like 2 or 3 and I was like, you're all fucking useless. And then I just found like an old TM that had an ice move in it. I don't remember what ice move it was. And I taught it to my Gyarados and just grinded my way through with that.
Yeah, and like, dude, and there's like there's other cool shit. Like you can get a Dratini pretty early by going to the casino.
Yes.
And doing that like card flip game or like the basic like Minesweeper kind of game.
Yeah. So okay, so then there you go then. I'll ask you, like, people kind of gave me a hard time when they found out about the team that I rolled outside of my starter, because I know that I know you and I feel like you and I are like left and right, like two people on the opposite sides of the political spectrum. But when it comes to our starters in Pokemon, like,
you picked the leaf guy, didn't you?
I'm all about my grass. I love grass Pokemon. And so I went, but outside of rocking I don't remember what the grass starter in this game was called. Chikorita. Outside of the Chikorita, I rolled 5 OG Gen 1 Pokemon. Because I know I stuck with what I know. And everyone was making fun of me. You know Pokemon better than me. And did I do myself a disservice? Like, do you play this with Gen 1 or Gen 2 or a mix, or what do you do?
I like a lot of the Gen 2 Pokemon that they brought in, particularly like some of the dark Pokemon. There's Houndour and Houndoom. Houndoom is fucking OP, like for that game anyways. I usually try to do a mix. I mean, when we were talking about doing this, I did a Nuzlocke challenge. Well, I didn't finish it, but I got most of the way through.
Now what? I know what that is, but pretend I really do. So shut the fuck up. I really do. I know it sounds like I don't, but I do.
I've told you a bunch of times.
Yeah, you've explained it enough that now I remember. But in case someone doesn't know, what is a Nuzlocke challenge?
Okay, so you're only allowed to catch 1 Pokemon per area you go into, and like there's side rules. I use the side rule like if I have that Pokemon already, so like, you know, I'm not catching like 80 Rattatas.
Because you have to catch the first one you run into?
First one you run into. Right. So I always do the first new one.
Okay, yeah.
You run into. And you can kind of like, if you, like now that I've played it a bunch and I'll go online and see what's coming up, you can kind of plan to make sure you're getting good Pokemon.
Sure.
Or at least new Pokemon that aren't.
Like, to me, that doesn't seem like a great way to play it the first time you play it.
No.
Because like, I don't know anything.
I would not recommend it, and I mean it's just a way to add a lot of difficulty.
Sure.
And there's lots of other rules. I don't play with all of them. Like lots of them, they'll say like you can't have Pokemon that are a higher level than the highest level Pokemon that the next gym leader has.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So like, if they cap out at 25 or whatever, you can't have any Pokemon in your team over 25.
So then what happens, like, it seems
then anytime one of your Pokemon faints, it goes, you can either like set it free or like I have a cemetery box for all my dead Pokemon, right? You know, it's like, hey, these are the guys that died. And like sometimes then like you get fucking hit hard.
Well, that's what I was going to say, dude. Like that seems to me like, this game's already hard. I'm so glad that you, who was good at Pokemon, was like, no, this one's kind of tough. Because there were a few bosses, like, trainers,
Gym leaders.
Gym leaders. Thank you. There were a few gym leaders, like I found like general trainers you run into still pretty easy, just like they were in the first one. But the gym leaders, like a couple of them will fuck you up. And like, dude, if I had to go into some of those fights and all I had was like the team that I could catch at first glance, and they weren't overpowered and they weren't custom, you go up against the water leader and you're like, well, I'm bringing, fucking 3 electric or what grass, whatever. Yeah. Like if you can't do that, like I'd never finish this game. I'd get fucking
or
forever.
if like you fucking it faints before you get there.
Yeah.
in a battle, and I mean it happens. Like you get hit with a critical hit. For like one of the trainers has got a move that somehow you didn't realize it had.
Yeah.
And it just KOs your Pokemon. You're like, well, this is one of the cornerstones of my team, and I'm fucked.
Yeah. Like, and that was the other thing. And actually, I liked this about this game is that I think I'm right on this. It introduced the Steel and Dark.
Yeah.
Yes. Fuck yeah. And those are new. And I really liked that. I thought that was great. Like just to help. I assume the main reason they did that was to just help balance the game a little bit and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you watch throughout the generations, they kind of continue to do that.
Sure. But,
right? With they got like the fairy type in the newer versions.
That's right. And that's what I like about, and I think that's what I like. So there was something about Gen 3, and I don't remember that much about it, but like I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like captivated. Like Gen 1, I could still sit down and play today. Maybe it's just nostalgia. I don't know what it is. I love that. Gen 3, I was kind of like, I don't know. And then the newer ones that I've played, I'm like, I beat them once. They were fine. But I was like, I don't feel an urge to play that again. This one really did like you're around my age. Like, you know how that leap from NES games to SNES games, and you would play them and you're like, these all just feel like bigger, better versions of the NES ones. Like, I know the Game Boy Color wasn't a graphical hardware leap per se from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color, but Pokemon Gen 2, in a lot, like as far as what was in it and everything, felt like an SNES version of the NES Gen 1 Pokemon.
Yeah, no, totally. And like, man, just so much cool shit. Like
you mentioned the time, dude. I wanted to go back to that. So I didn't like read a manual or anything. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I bought this off my 3DS. I just played it on my 3DS. And like, I thought that was sick because I didn't even know that was a thing for like the first week I was playing it because I was only playing it at night. And then I fired it up like on a Saturday or something. And everything looked different. And I was running into Pokemon I hadn't seen. And I was like, the fuck is this? Like, dude, and when you were a kid, I don't know if there's a game on the Game Boy / Game Boy Color with more bang for its buck than fucking Pokemon Gen 2. It's insane. Nope. Like,
and like there's just a lot of the stuff that was like day dependent. Like Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think, were like the bug catching competition. So like you could go get a Scyther or a Pinsir in that time, right?
Right. Yes.
And that's like the only way you could catch it. And then there's like so there's like 7 NPC characters, one for each day of the week, and they give you a special item, and they're like hidden throughout the game.
Right.
So you have to find them in that spot on that day.
Fucking insane. Like it's like
right?
So when I like we'll get to this in a bit, but like when I got to the Gen 1 region, like when I went over to that, I can't remember what region. I don't remember the region's names. But when I went back to like Gen 1 world or whatever, and I was doing those, I got to the Safari Zone and I was all like, fuck yeah, because I love the Safari Zone. And then they were like, it's closed. And I was like, you motherfuckers. But stuff like that, I guess, like makes up for it. Like all the crazy little things that you can do.
I was playing the Heart Gold version and they have a Safari Zone. I don't like it as much. But it was kind of neat for Heart Gold anyways. They have, and I don't know if they had it for the original Gold and Silver, but they have like areas, and you get to pick what areas go into the Safari Zone. So then you're kind of like going through to find which Pokemon are in there.
Oh, no shit. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Fucking insane. Like I love that like they brought Team Rocket back. But I love that they kept talking about like the downfall of Team Rocket and everything. Like they referenced the first game and stuff. Like it was, it's going to sound so stupid because let's call a spade a spade. Pokemon, nobody's playing Pokemon for the story. Like,
No.
I know there's a story there.
It's the same story every time.
Yeah, nobody's playing Pokemon for the story of a kid running away from home to catch animals. Like, that's not why you're here.
Well, and it's like you always have, it's like Team Rocket or Team Magma or Team whatever, right?
Sure, yeah.
Or, even in the newer one, it's like this guy who's trying to bring apart the apocalypse and shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But that was what I really liked about this game was I was like, it's going to sound so stupid, but if you're listening to this and you've never played, I don't want to say if you've never played Pokemon, but if you've never played like Gen 1 or Gen 2, like I really do recommend playing Gen 1 before you play this game or like Gen 2, because like I was having such a blast finding like references to the original games and like the way they would talk about like, oh, this kid came and defeated Team Rocket and stuff like that. Like all those little things. And then not to mention the whole second half of the game or the second, whatever, the last third of the game, which we'll get to. I thought that was fucking sick. Like I loved that little touch. And I also, to me, one of the coolest things about this game was every single time I triggered a random encounter, and I fucking hate random encounters, but every time I triggered a battle in this game, I would get like so excited to be like, I wonder if it's one of the ones I know, or I wonder if it's like a brand new one, because I don't know half of the Gen 2 Pokemon. It's just, we are going to get more into like some of the battles and stuff like that, the Pokemon themselves, but I just want to say, like, I've said this on the show before, there are some retro games where you can just see, and this can go back as far as the NES, you can just see the sheer amount of effort and polish and that they tried. It wasn't mailed in, that they really tried. And with Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow being as big as they were, like, they could have just created 100 new shitty Pokemon, released this game, and made $1 trillion. But the sheer amount of, like, in my opinion, these games, Gen 2, Gen 1 is the reason Pokemon obviously exists. Gen 2 to me is why it's the phenomenon that it still is today. Because this was the follow-up.
I agree.
Right?
I 100% agree.
Like how many movies, like a great movie comes out and then they make a sequel and it's like, well, the sequel sucked and then that's the end of the franchise. And you know what I mean? And like video games have done that. TV shows have done that. And it's like, they could have so easily just mailed it in and still made a ton of money with this. People accuse them of doing that now. People accuse them of like, I don't necessarily disagree. Pokemon is kind of lazy sometimes.
Like I said, the story is the same in like all the games.
Right, exactly. And like I was so impressed. Like I was like, I don't think there's a single aspect of this game that felt cheap or half-assed or mailed in, like nothing.
This one seemed to actually, like, I know it seems to be the only one too that it does kind of have the same thing, like, oh, you got to beat Team Rocket and become the thing, but like there's so many like little differences, like even just your rival being a guy who stole a Pokemon.
Dude, yes. Like I love that. Like your rival in Gen 1 is just like a fucking arrogant piece of shit. But like your rival in Gen 2 is a fucking asshole. Like he seems like he beats his Pokemon. Like he's just a dick. Yeah, and I love that.
And like people like openly kind of reference that. Like in all the things you run into.
Yeah.
They're like, man, that guy's an asshole.
Yeah, they did. Like I thought that was rad. I will say I found, I guess maybe the only thing I didn't like about this game, and maybe this is just, I hated that phone. And like maybe it's just because I don't like answering the phone in real life.
Okay, yeah.
But like I'd be just walking and then be like ring ring and I'd be like hello.
Okay, so a lot of the phone is nonsense.
Yes.
But there are things you can do that were good. So certain people will call you for rematches and their Pokemon get stronger. Like each time you do a rematch, then they get stronger to a certain point. And then sometimes they'll call you to let you know about like where rare Pokemon are swarming.
Oh really? Oh fuck. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like, and you kind of like, if you don't know what they are, and then like you have like a limit on how many people you can have in your phone book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, that's where the meme came from. My Rattata is in the top percentile of Rattatas.
Oh, I see. I get it now. Okay. Yeah. I fucking hated it. I was just like, fuck off. Leave me alone. Like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been about a month since I played this now, but like, when you beat someone and then they ask you for your number, you have the option to say no, right?
Yep. And
Yeah.
you can go and delete them afterwards too.
Oh,
right?
okay. Because I just started saying no to everybody because I was like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, I'm busy trying to save the world or whatever the fuck it is.
But
I'm
like I
doing
said,
here.
it's one of those things that they added that, you know, like if you didn't know what you were looking for, yeah, it's fucking annoying.
You know
right?
what?
But,
maybe not. I don't know if some people will agree with this or not, but like when I played Gen 1, I had a guide and it made it so much easier, like to learn the game and everything like that. I've never played a Pokemon game with a guide since Gen 1, and I have felt at times lost in every other generation. Like,
well, yeah, there's just so much like little things
oh my God,
that
dude.
they put in the games that like if you don't really know what you're looking for or
And
like how to get something.
And it's not even all about how to find, you know, certain Pokemon and find the legendaries and stuff like that. It was like, I actually just got lost a couple of times and couldn't figure out where to go and had to look it up. And I'm not even saying necessarily, like, I've been lost in tons of RPGs. That's not new to, especially old school, like JRPGs. That's not new. But like, as a kid, I mean, I almost feel like they maybe designed it that way to sell guides, like back in the day. Because like, as a kid, if I had this game, like, without the internet to look stuff up, I would have needed a guide, I think, at times.
Yeah. And I mean, when it came out, the internet was around.
Sure.
A
Yeah.
little bit.
99, 2000. Yeah, it was, but it was.
Yeah, like Game FAQs was out, and
Right.
I know I looked it up a bunch to find things.
Like GeoCities. But
Yeah,
but
no,
like
Game FAQs was around.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so it was
yeah.
like what the fuck is it? Like a notepad document, kind of.
right. Yeah.
But there were things like finding a Lapras is in like one of the first caves that you go into, but it's like way deep, but it's only like I don't remember exactly, but it's like a Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
But that's just like, you know, like certain Pokemon, like rare ones, you know, like that, like, and again, this is how great this is about like coming back every day to play this game, because you had stuff every day that was special for that day.
Right.
Right. And if you didn't know what it was, you kind of had to go look it up online.
Yeah, dude. Like, the fucking what gym leader was it? It might have been the 8th one. There's one where you like you get to. It's near the end of the first batch of gym leaders. There's one where you like get to the gym. And there's like a guy out front that says that like you need an invite or something to fucking come in here, and you need a dragon Pokemon or something like that. And like for the fucking life of me, I could not figure out how the fuck to get into this gym. And then I finally looked it up, and it turned out I had not done some battle in like a radio station, and I had to go back and do. And like I'm not even necessarily complaining about it because it might have just been me not paying attention or being high and not reading the directions or whatever. But like. Yeah, there were a couple, like, I don't remember Gen 1 being as, it sounds so stupid to call Pokemon
There was a lot of
confusing.
all over the map shit.
All over the
in this
fucking
game.
map, man.
Like you had to go somewhere and do something, then go somewhere else, then go here, and then you could progress.
Yeah, but I don't even want to say that that's a bad thing because, again, like, if you're a kid and this is, like, the one game you got, you know, for Christmas or for your birthday or fucking whatever, like, I've told this story countless times about how the first game I ever bought with my own money was Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy, and I beat it the night I brought it home, and I was like devastated. And if you had gotten this as a kid, like you're set till adulthood. Like you have a ton to do because we haven't even gotten into like the 100 new Pokemon yet. Like it's just holy Christ. Because you're right. At the end,
and how they changed some of them and changed some of the moves.
Yeah, fucking insanity. So like, okay, so quickly, if you've never played it. It's the classic storyline. You're a kid who runs away from home and you got to go get 8 badges and then go beat the Elite Four and blah, 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 blah. And then along the way, you're saving the world and saving fucking town's problems and beating up bad guys and blah, 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 blah. I will say, maybe some of you are going to make fun of me for this too. I did not see the twist coming that Lance was the champion or whatever.
Okay,
or like, he was like the leader of the Elite Four, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Or whatever it was. I did not see that coming at all. He was the champion, and like he like shows up a couple, and like it kind of pissed me off because I did the Elite Four fight and I got stuck on the first member of the Elite Four forever because the first member has a bunch of psychic Pokemon and I didn't have anything that would stand up against psychic Pokemon. And the fucking not the problem, but like once you go in to battle the Elite Four, you are trapped until you beat them all. Like, you can't go back and heal or buy up more supplies or whatever. And it probably took me 5 or 6 attempts to beat that. Once I got past the first one,
and they
I was
do a
golden.
really good job too of like limiting how much money you can have
Yeah.
before you get there. So it's not like you can just load up on lots of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it like I grind. Once I got through I have it right here in front of me. Once I got through Will, the psychic one, number 1, then I was golden until I got to the end, which was Lance with the dragon Pokemon.
Well, that one I think you can get away with through a lot of that with an electric Pokemon because I think he's got 2 flyers and a water guy.
But that was I didn't have any electric Pokemon, and it fucked me.
Well,
It fucked me.
there's your fucking problem.
Well, but I hate them all because I hate Pikachu. So by
That's
association,
fair.
I hate them all.
I get a Flaffy as soon as I can,
A what?
and it's an electric sheep Pokemon,
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
then it turns into an Ampharos, and that guy's just fucking. He's slower than like every other electric Pokemon,
Right.
but he's like stronger.
Okay. So
right? He packs like a literal Thunder Punch.
okay. So because I wanted to ask you like okay, so just quickly, let me just say, yeah, Lance. The only thing that pissed me off was like there's one part where he's like helping you. You're in like a basement of like a lab, or you're in a laboratory or something. And you're grinding through, and he's like showing up.
From the secret radio thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then I get to the end of the game and find out that he's like the champion with this like pocket full of dragons. And I was like, hey, thanks for your help, Cape Boy. Like, where the fuck were you? Like, when I was out there grinding with my goddamned fucking Graveler, and you were just sitting in the fucking back with 3 Dragonites in your back pocket? You fucking piece of shit. But I didn't see the twist coming, and I liked that.
Yeah. No, it was good.
But fuck him, though. So like I should ask you like because I wanted to say what my team was, even though everyone's just gonna make fun of my shitty Gen 1 team. So I know you've played through this game countless times and you're nuzlocking and stuff, but like have you got it like do you have like your dream team or like the team that you like your best run or your whatever? Like
I always try to get an Ampharos.
Okay.
Like, always. It's just because every Pokemon game I play, like I gotta have an electric Pokemon because for the most part, they just have the least amount of weaknesses. It's just ground.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So like, as long as you're not going up against a bunch of stuff that's got Earthquake and stuff,
yeah,
he's usually just a good utility guy, and he can learn a lot of stuff, like because he does Thunder Punch, but I think he can learn a bunch of the other ones.
Okay.
As well, and he can learn a good set of moves through TMs.
Okay.
So like you can have him actually be more of a utility guy.
Okay.
If I can trade, one of my all-time favorites is Scizor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's super weak to fire, but he's like one of the only good steel Pokemon.
Okay.
I find.
Okay.
Who else do I usually try to get? I usually try to get a Dragonite.
Sure.
If I know it's like end game material, but like a Larvitar, so I can get a Tyranitar. That guy is fucking awesome. He's like he's like every Pokemon game's got like their like sub legendary Pokemon,
right?
And that's it. And
okay.
he's in that last area with or at least the Larvitar's in that last area where you go to fight Red.
Okay.
But I mean, it's like. It's late game, so it's not really like one you can get before. There's a water electric one too that I like, Lantern.
That's a sick combo. I didn't know that. That's a fucking badass combo.
So I mean, if I can get that guy instead of Ampharos, I usually go with that.
Okay.
What else do I like? Houndoom. He's just so good.
So while I was looking at the Elite Four, I saw that one of them had a Houndoom, and that thing looks like Satan's fucking German Shepherd. Yeah, like I didn't have one, but that is a badass looking fucking Pokemon right there. Holy Christ.
that guy's fucking real good. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I really, really try to get. I try to mix it up every time I play.
Sure.
But generally those ones I will have one of those like in my team.
Okay.
Just because they're just really good and like all around utility Pokemon.
Right. So everyone made fun of me because I was like outside of my grass starter, and like I don't know how you are, but like I never want to take my starter out of my team. Like I like it just feels weird. You're like that's the one that like without you I'd still be just playing Nintendo in my mom's attic. Like I can't get rid of you. But like
Yeah.
outside of my grass starter, it was all Gen 1 Pokemon. And it was like, tell me that, like, outside of not having electric, like, I taught as many moves as I could, like different, like every time I got a TM that had a move for like a certain type that I didn't have, I was like, oh, please let someone be able to learn this. You know what I mean? Just to have like a fire move or a whatever move. And like I had the red Gyarados. I had a Machoke. That's the middle one, right?
Yep.
And the only reason I had that was because someone traded me like in the game, and I was like, oh, okay, sure, because I like Machoke. And then I remembered, and when you trade for someone, they level up faster.
Yeah, but they give it to you with like an Everstone, so it doesn't evolve when it trades to you. Like, what a fucking piss off.
Yeah, like it was a Machoke forever, the middle one. But I had Gyarados, I had Machoke, I had Kadabra, I had a Graveler because I couldn't trade to get a Golem. And then I didn't intend on it, but I had a Pidgeot. I don't know how you call it.
Okay.
Like, I didn't intend on him being part of, like, he's just one of the, like everyone catches a Pidgey early.
The Xatu or whatever, the evolved flying psychic guy. I usually have that guy.
Oh, the guy that looks like a bird Yoda with like a white.
Yeah.
Like,
that guy.
I had no intention of rolling with a Pidgey, but then I just like, he started to get really good. And I was just like, well, as soon as I find a new flying Pokemon that I like better, like, I don't want to be that guy that goes to the end of the game with a Pidgey. Yeah. But then he just kept getting better. And I was like, fuck
There's one, Phanpy, and I don't remember, it's a ground guy, but he looks like an elephant. Okay. I like that guy. He's pretty good.
I will say, like, there were some badass looking new Pokemon in this game. Like, it's funny because like I'm one of many that when you think of like shitty Pokemon, I think of the stupid keys, like the set of car keys or whatever the fuck it was from like, I don't remember what generation it was, XY, I think, whatever. Fuck, it sucked. But like in this one, every time I discovered like a new, like I came across a new because I know the originals, like I know when I run into something new, and every time I came across something new, I was like, fuck, that's a really cool looking. Like they
did a good job on adding new Pokemon in this one.
Yeah, like there's not a lot of duds in Gen 2, which I would even argue that there's some duds in Gen 1.
Yeah. There's a really cool steel flying Skarmory. He's pretty good. I'm trying to think what he is now. I think he's a poison flying Gligar.
Oh,
he kind of sucks, but he's just fun to play with.
Let me ask you this, because I don't know. Did Gen 1 have the like combined classes?
Yep.
Oh, did it? Okay. For some reason that just seemed different to me.
Bulbasaur's well, that's kind of how they like Psychic were so good, because they're everything that was supposed to be good against them, like Ghost and Bug, generally came with a poison typing,
right?
Type 2, and then there were no good Ghost or Bug moves.
Yeah.
So in this gen, they really beefed that up.
Yeah, you can tell that they addressed
added in Dark, and like one of the biggest things that really fucking surprised me early on, because you're fighting someone that has like rock Pokemon, and you used Bite, and like it was actually not like super effective, but it actually worked. Right. And I didn't realize they changed Bite to a dark move.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So they kind of like really rebalanced it. I mean, other than Steel being fucking garbage.
Right.
I mean, because there's only a few of them. Like you can get a Steelix, but only through trade.
Yeah.
And then you can get a Scissor only through trade.
Let me just say too, for the record, like Onix is like a top 5 Pokemon for me as far as like the design. I think Onix is so badass, but like every time I catch one, I'm like, you're just such shit. Like you should be good. So yeah, I fucking hate Onix.
I from Gen 1, I always hated using Pokemon that didn't evolve, and Gen 2 kind of changed that for me.
Right.
Like you get a Sneasel, which is dark ice, and they didn't add an evolution till like, several gens later.
Right.
Yeah. same with Gligar, and just like I mean, like they're leaving room for shit. And I
Sure.
mean, like the breeding to get like egg Pokemon, like babies and shit.
So yeah, okay, let's go to that because like I didn't do any breeding. Like I just don't get it. Like I got this stupid Togepi or whatever the fuck it was, and I
Yeah.
just like put it in my PC and never looked at it
that
again.
that guy Togetic, like the final evolution, that guy's fucking good.
Oh, I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it evolved. Oh.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
is it worth it?
no.
Because like I hate him from the cartoon Togepi. So I was like, I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
fucking. I'm not. I'm not.
No,
evolving
the
you.
final evolution one is good, especially
okay.
in that game.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I'm looking at it right now.
and-
It kind of looks like a Mew, but like wearing like a egg diaper.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
and like there were a lot of really good new Pokemon.
Yeah.
And like when I played through it the first time, I tried to almost do exclusively new Pokemon
Sure.
just because you know, at the time, you know, I was in high school or whatever.
Right.
I would, you know, like these are new guys. Why the fuck why am I not trying new guys?
Right.
And it kind of because you know, I played the first one so many fucking times,
Right.
right?
Um,
And
So I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you because you mentioned the breeding thing. Like, you could breed. I assume you could breed like new Pokemon. Like you could put them together and they'd make like the new generation
Well-
of Pokemon and stuff.
well, not really. Okay, so how breeding works?
Yeah.
And this is like more for competitive stuff.
Okay.
Is they all fit into like different egg types. So certain Pokemon could breed with certain Pokemon, and you could then get moves that one Pokemon. So you would take a male version of a Pokemon
Yeah.
that had a move that you wanted to give to a female, like so you would then bring in the female of whatever you wanted, because whatever the female was, you would get that Pokemon.
Oh, okay. Okay. I
Right. So
see.
then you could get a male one with a move that could learn through breeding.
I see. Okay.
S-
All right.
So for like more competitive stuff, then
Sure.
you just open up a lot more types of Pokemon.
I love that there's so many things like breeding and like let's call a spade a spade. Like Pokemon, like they don't faint. Like they get knocked the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but like I love that because they're kids games. They just word it so gently. And it, like
Yeah.
it's like for all you Simpsons fans out there, like watching two Pokemon breed, it would be like when Homer was like, "Zookeeper, those monkeys are killing each other," and then the zookeeper like whispers in his ear, and he's like, "Oh," and like that. Like it's just so funny to me that they put this in like a kid's
like
game.
when you get an egg, it's like your Pokemon had an egg. We don't know how it happened.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, is that what it says?
Yeah.
Fucking sick.
Oh, your Pokemon had an egg.
Oh,
Well,
that's
so
fucking
here you
weird.
go.
I don't know. They were
Yeah.
fighting, and now he's smoking.
They were just playing a little rough.
and
you
she
know?
made an egg. I don't know how that
Yeah.
happened. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, because I never got into the breeding, because I just like. Again, maybe it's just because I played Gen 1 with like a player's guide, but like every time I ran into a new, like a Gen 2 Pokemon that I'd never seen, like I had to guess, like, I'm like, well, he looks like he's fire. And so I
Yeah.
would try using like a fire, but I guess that's like, I'm not even complaining about it. It's just
So-
part of the game, you know? Like,
So I want to ask you, how did you like that chick's Miltank in the gym battle?
the mill tank, which one's the mill tank?
Is in the normal gym in the like the big city with the casino and stuff.
I don't remember. I got to look it up. Pokemon Gen 2 mill tank. As soon as I see it, I'm
Yeah.
sure I'll remember. Oh, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck is that? Like,
Like that whole gym, it was like a fucking breeze, and you get to this Pokemon, and you're like, what the fuck? How come all my Pokemon are dead?
yeah, I remember that thing now. And like, it's such an innocent looking, stupid cow. And then it just fucks you up. I do. Yes. Fucking brutal. Fuck me, man. And that was what I'm talking about. Like, when we're talking about the difficulty, there's just like one or two battles in this game that just like massacre you. And you
Yeah.
gotta go back to the Pokemon Center and like, okay, guys, let's fucking regroup here. Like, at what point did we lose control here? Like, it was just, we got
Yeah.
fucking destroyed. Yes. And like, listen, I have no problem losing to something like a fucking scissor or whatever the fuck it's called, or a fucking Satan's German Shepherd dog. But like,
Yeah.
a semi-obese, happy-looking cow with big boobs. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not like you. No, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and Miltank is just such a great example of a Pokemon that doesn't evolve that is good, right? And you look at like the Gen 1s that didn't evolve, and I mean like you got some good ones like Pinsir in Gen 1
Yeah.
that were good. But they just like for the most part, like you look at stuff like Onyx or basically any like the Arbok, no, not Arbok. There's a bunch of other ones.
Yeah.
My mind is blanking, but they all fucking suck.
Yeah.
Like as like a one-off, unless they're like a legendary or something.
Snorlax.
Snorlax was good.
Shaylee,
I mean-
my girlfriend adores Snorlax, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I hate you. But
He's real good. He's
You
one
are.
of the only Pokemon that I like actively don't do all combat moves
what do you mean?
for. Okay,
Oh,
so like
you leave
know,
like rest?
well, like I do things like make sure I'm pumping up his defense a bunch of times.
Oh, I see.
Right,
Okay.
like I actually have to think about using him as a strategic Pokemon instead
Okay.
of just trying to overpower and just punch.
Yeah.
Right, because that's generally my style. Because I'm usually playing through, right, and that's kind of when you do a Nuzlocke, you kind of have to think about that too. Like,
Sure.
how do I make sure my guys don't die?
I was gonna say like maybe that's why I got my ass kicked so many times in this game because I never use those like
Yeah.
buffing moves. Those are always the first things I get rid of as soon as I get a. I don't even care what the new move you're teaching me is. If it's in a and that's the other thing. And I know that it's not exclusive to this game, but I will say as like a very casual Pokemon player, like I wish when it tells you that like fucking Graveler is trying to learn move X, I wish it would tell me what the move is. Like
Yeah,
it
well,
doesn't.
I think you can. I don't know if it did it in this one, but I know in later versions you definitely can.
Yeah, you can. I couldn't figure out a way. I don't know if it does it in this one. I don't know how. And so there were a couple of times where I was like, I wonder if I just turned down a really good move. But I was like, I like my 4 moves, and I don't know what this does. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
just
and
maybe that's just my suckiness at Pokemon. But
Yeah, and they so because I played this and I had red and blue, or I had access to red and blue, and could give myself some Pokemon from the first gen that
Yeah.
you can't really get in this game.
yeah,
They like come with new moves, right?
Right.
So like a Charmander learns Metal Claw, right? So you have this guy that suddenly has moves that it can use that are good against opposite typing,
right. Oh,
right? So like you now
ahead.
have a Pokemon that can at least do some damage against like a rock Pokemon.
right.
Right?
One thing I like too, I can't remember how they describe it. They say something about how you can't trade Gen 2 Pokemon to a Gen 1 game.
Yeah.
And they say something along the lines of like they can't go back through time. I don't remember how they say it, but really
you got-
clever.
you got-
Really clever.
Yeah.
But you can trade Gen 1 Pokemon ahead to Gen 2.
Yeah, and so if you like, what I would do is before I would learn about the cheat, I would just get a bunch of Pidgeys or whatever,
Sure.
and then I would trade those Pidgeys back, and as long as they don't have a move that is from the old one or from the new one, you can do that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right? So like, yeah, just get a bunch of Pidgeys and trade them to your friend. I mean, if you're only looking to complete the Pokedex or to get stuff, it doesn't really matter what they get in return.
Sure. Man, that's such fucking show some respect to the Pidgeys. I love Pidgey. Okay, so fuck, we've been going for almost an hour already. I still have 3 big things I wanted to touch on.
Okay, well, let's go to them.
Okay, not that I'm not complaining because I liked this game and I'm used to it because I played Gen 1 so many times. Maybe my biggest how the fuck did you not fix this when you fixed everything else was the fact that you still have to deal with stupid HMs.
Oh, well, so here's what I think about HMs, and I mean, like, you kind of always have to have HM slaves.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest gripes from Sword and Shield was that they got rid of HMs.
Now why though? Because I hate them.
No, but the HMs allowed for a lot more like exploration. Right? Like you had to have surf and you had to have rock climb and you had to
Sure.
do these things to get special items
But to
or
me,
special Pokemon.
But to me, like that could have been easily dealt with by just saying something along the lines of like the trainer learns surf. And then as long as you have a water Pokemon in your team, you can tell them use Surf. But it's not like a move that you lock onto your Pokemon.
Well,
you know
like
what I mean?
like I don't mind having an HM slave, and I mean, is it this one? No, I don't think it's this. Was it this one where you get a Bidoof? No, that's a Gen 3 one.
Yeah, I don't think it's this one.
Yeah, but like having an HM slave, whatever. Like for the most part, it didn't really affect my game.
Let me say, like it didn't ruin the game for me or anything. I played Gen 1. I know all about like how they work. And I agree with you that like it's a clever way to lock certain areas of the game until you're ready to go there. And I'm down with all of that. I just find the concept of them to be a pain in the ass. And like I didn't want to have to carry a slave around, so I was like, well, Pidgey is here, he can learn Fly. Gyarados can learn Surf.
Some of those moves aren't bad either.
No,
like,
dude, Fly is money.
Yeah,
like,
and so is Surf.
Yeah,
Surf's
damn right it is.
90, and in later gens, it hits multiple Pokemon.
Yeah, Surf is cash money, and Fly is like a Dragoon jump for a Pokemon. It's fucking sick.
Yeah.
But like Flash, like I taught my Kadabra Flash because I didn't want to carry somebody around with it. And I was like, I basically like, and the only reason I taught it to my Kadabra was because like, well, I know I'm just going to use whatever my strongest psychic move is with him anyways. Like if I, Confusion to Psychic to Psybeam to whatever, like I'm just going to use those. But I just was a little shocked because like a lot of people, like that was a pain in the ass. And I was a little surprised that they kept it in there for a whole, I guess they kept it in for more than 2 generations too. But
well, they didn't get rid of it until the Sword and Shield.
Yeah, and I just was like, why? Like nobody is
but again with the Sword and Shield, they like got rid of HMs, but they also got rid of the mini games, and you could also switch Pokemon out in the Fly, like in the world map.
Yeah,
like there was just they got rid of it in too many ways.
Yeah, I hated that you could switch Pokemon anywhere. I
didn't mind that you could like the switching out Pokemon in the field was great. If they kept HMs.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
You could still have 6 Pokemon.
Just playing through it, I was like, fuck off. Don't make me fucking deal with this goddamn shit again.
But a good thing about this thing too is they added all the items your Pokemon could hold.
Yes. Yeah. Which I like. Right? But now let me ask you that. Like by the end of the game, all 6 of my Pokemon were just holding an item that buffed a certain type of move. Like none of them are holding recovery items. Do you think that's bad?
I never really did, unless like the only reason to do that is if you know that you're going into, say, like you're fighting Lieutenant Surge again, and you're like, I'm gonna give them all the berry that heals paralysis.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to know what you're getting into to use them.
Yeah.
There's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like a buff that you can go like, you know what, fuck you.
It was like I had like fucking 80 acorns, and then I found the guy that makes balls, and he makes 1 ball and then refuses to make you another one. Yeah, and I was just like, I'm not coming back here. Fuck you.
No, he maybe it was just in the hard gold one, but you could do like all of one kind. Right? And they're like, I'm going to give you 30 blue ones.
Oh, see, well, like, because the first time I found him, I gave him whatever I had. Like, I had one of like 3 different colors. I gave him one. He made me a ball, whatever. But then he was like, I'm tired. I'm not making any more today. And I was just like, well, fucking joke's on you, dick face, because I'm never coming back here because I don't know where you are. Like, I had so many acorns that I couldn't remember where the guy even was to go and get more made. So finally, I just threw away all my acorns. I was like,
that's one of those things too, right? Where it kind of got you to come back and play every day.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Right, because it's just 1 a day things. Like
as long as you knew where he fucking was.
Right, and then like there are certain Pokemon that evolve like you have to like for the new Eevee evolutions. So for Espeon and Umbreon, you have to get their friendship up high. So you can do that by either like spamming them with like proteins and shit, those stat booster items.
Yeah.
Or you gotta like get their hair cut, and then you gotta do like these little things all the time to get that up.
Wait, okay, so because I think I gave my Machoke a haircut. I got to a point where somebody needed a haircut. Someone was offering me a haircut, and I was like, well, he's the traded one, so he feels like the like adopted kid on the team. Yeah. Like, because he's the one I traded for. So I was like, I'll get him a haircut. And then it said that he really liked me or something like that. But, like, that was the only time I ever did that. What does that do?
And they have moves that depend on that stat, and so it's like a hidden stat. So like I think there's I don't remember if it's this one, but like I know that this move exists, like return,
Yeah.
right? And there are other ones that work on the happiness stat. So the happier your Pokemon are, so the less they faint, the more you use them. You can then use that move, and it gets more powerful.
Holy fuck. How fucking deep is this for a game that's like technically aimed at children? Or at least was back then. Holy Christ. I didn't realize I was playing fucking Suikoden 2 here. Like, Jesus, fuck me. Well, make sure your Pokemon are happy so they know the moves to not surf up the waterfall with their dark type acorn. Fuck me. Like, I'm like, fuck. I thought by the end of the game, I was like, I have a pretty good grasp on this game. This episode has crushed my soul. Like this, fuck me. And I like this game, but I'm like, I'm going back to Gen 1, where it's like, it just give me 3 Kadabras and get the fuck out of my way. I'm going back to where I was safe.
I think you should play this again and try to do new Pokemon.
I do not have, because that's the second point I wanted to make. This isn't one game. This is
2.
Yeah. And I was like, fortunately I knew that going in, but like I finished the first part and then it was like, oh, now you can fucking surf or whatever over to is it Kanto region? Is that
I
region 1?
think so.
And they're like, and now you can go fight all the original gym trainers again and go back to the old areas, and there's that fucking lazy piece of shit Snorlax again.
And what kind of pissed me off in that one too was you go to like all the new areas, and the Pokemon are all the same levels from the new areas.
Yeah, that's great. Because like I wanted to say, listen, I like the fact that they put so if you've never played this, just in case you're wondering what the fuck we're talking about, once you basically beat the game, Pokemon Gold, Silver, whatever.
When you beat half the game.
Yeah, then you can basically go back to the game, like the exact areas, or I don't know if they're exact replicas, but you basically go back.
Close.
Yeah, you basically go back to the areas from Pokemon Red Blue, and you can fight the trainers from Red Blue again, and go catch a bunch of old Pokemon.
Like, to be honest, that whole second area is a lot faster.
A lot faster. It is, yes.
It's not like you're playing the whole game again.
No, you're not. And like you're not
almost all the HMs and stuff. And
yeah. You're not doing like the Team Rocket shit and stuff.
But you're going through and you're kind of opening up everything. The trainers are all high levels, which is nice.
They are. But like, I agree with you, man. I was so fucking like, we went back to the area, like Gen 1's areas, and I was like, oh, fucking A. I was like, I want to go see, like, oh, I wonder if there'll be like a Growlithe over here or fucking whatever.
Yeah. So then you're like, you have to make use of like, because they're all the Pokemon are such lower level, and when you're trying to catch some of them, you have to make use of stuff like False Swipe, which brings Pokemon down to 1 instead of killing it.
Oh, see, I assume, okay, so like if you don't know, like when I finished like the Elite Four and beat Lance and everything, like my Pokemon were probably in like the mid 40s, like high 40s, whatever. And then we get back to Gen 1 or the Gen 1 area, and it's like I'm literally running into Pokemon that are like level 3 and level 4 again. And like what I assumed it wanted me to do was to just go, and I didn't do it. I didn't catch hardly. I was just like, fuck it. I just want to beat this and get it over with. But like what I assumed it wanted me to do was go to like my PC and pull out some low level Pokemon that I had caught earlier and use those to catch these new low level Pokemon and basically start from scratch. Do you know what I mean?
You can also like, I know it's not like, I do this in every game when I'm trying to go and complete the Pokedex afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll take my high level Pokemon and just spam Ultra Balls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because they like the way the system is set up is that like your level and over their level will give you a higher chance.
Okay.
Right. So I just go in with Ultra Balls, or I'll go in with the specialty Pokeballs. Like some of them are good for catching water Pokemon.
Which I like that. I thought that was dope.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So like you kind of have to figure it out. I mean, in later versions they have like the Quick Ball. Yeah. Which is ideal for doing this kind of thing where you throw quick balls and right off the hop, and it has a way higher chance of catching them.
Right.
Or alternatively, they have the ones that like the opposite. The longer the battle's been going on, you start using those ones, and they have a better chance. Right.
Go ahead.
some of the strategy too, especially if you're trying to catch the legendary dogs in that one, because some of those guys are really good. Suicide, the water one particularly, is good, but they have this thing where they leave.
Oh, okay.
So you have to do stuff like Mean Look, I think, with a ghost Pokemon, or like you have to have like in later versions like Arena Trap, right, as like your Pokemon's specialty thing,
Right.
where they can't run away.
Okay. Now, okay, okay. So the last thing I wanted to get to were the legendaries in this generation because I didn't catch any of them. But I'll explain why. But let me just. So I don't want anyone to think I mailed this in. I put 45 plus hours into this game, and if I had bought this as like a kid or got this as a gift, especially if you didn't know that second half was there, and you like played through the game and then found out you could go back to Gen 1 and do it all over again, like the value that this game offers is second to none. It's fucking incredible. Like the amount of hours you can get out of it in exchange for the dollars. But like, and I don't even think it's a criticism.
This is like 100-hour plus game.
Oh,
if
it's
you
insanity.
Are just doing the things.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that's even a bad thing. The only reason that I was just like, no, fuck this, I'm done, is because I'm trying to play so many games for this show, and I was like, I know I'm not going to complete the Pokedex, and I was like, I have got to get to some other games. I have got to move. I got all the badges in both gyms or like both generations. I did all of it, and I was like, okay, I beat Blue, I think is who you fight or whatever. And then I was like, okay, I gotta move on. Like I gotta get some shit done. I want to say, so as far as the Gen 1 at the end of Gen 2, other than Red being like that last final super boss, it is Blue or whoever it is that you fight, right? It's the protagonist from Red and Blue is who you fight. Let me say, like, that is such a fucking awesome idea. And he like doesn't want to fight you at first, and then finally he's like, all right, like you've done everything, all right, like let's fight. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, like I just thought that was a like fucking tip of my hat. The fan service in this game, I get why this is so many people's favorite Pokemon generation. I absolutely understand. Like it might be mine, even though I don't ever want to play it again. I'm like, how do you not? I was like, I've got Gen 1 and all the trainers and stuff from Gen 1 and all these Pokemon, but all these new Pokemon and all these new areas in Gen 2 and all the breeding and the shine. I was like, holy fuck. It's just.
It really like expanded how, like, especially if like you want to do like competitive Pokemon against your friends, right?
Yeah.
Like, what the game is really meant to do is for you to fight your friends.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, the limitations of like the cable or whatever, but I mean, that's gone now. Like I have Heart Gold on my 3DS.
Right.
I could just go online.
Right.
Right. Oh, fun fact about when I was playing too, I was gifted a 3DS.
Okay.
And because mine had got stolen when I first moved back to Edmonton.
Okay. That sounds like Edmonton.
Yeah. I won't get into that too much, but someone gifted me a 3DS. So they gave it to me, and it hadn't been connected to the internet.
Oh wow.
So the clock isn't right.
Okay.
So I was playing it like, like if I'm playing during the day, it's for whatever reason it's nighttime.
Sure.
In the game, so it like gave me a little bit more of a random kind of thing, and I would frequently not check what time it was.
Oh, okay.
Unless I was like specifically looking for a certain Pokemon.
Right. Yeah, fucking just, I'm so blown away. The last thing, so like we're fucking over an hour already. I sure hope that I don't get shit for this episode because we tried really hard. Mick knows his fucking Pokemon.
I did bring up a lot of shit.
I think you did. Yeah, I've learned a lot. Like I've legitimately learned shit playing this fucking this game or doing this episode. Now the legendaries in this one, I did not catch any of them, and admittedly, part of the reason was because I was like, I'm at fucking 45 hours and I need to play something. Part of it was because I didn't have a guide and like, helping me find them or anything. Because I don't know if I would have found Mewtwo without a guide showing me where Mewtwo was back in Gen 1. But part of it like was, I just wanted to say, like, are they worth the work? Like they look cool.
Some of them are. Okay, so what was really cool too, I thought about this one was because they have the 2 legendary ones, and they really kind of like push that Like you can catch Ho-Oh in the gold one at a low level,
Right.
and then you can actually catch Lugia at a high, like level 70.
Okay.
Right? So that's like your Mewtwo version of this.
Right. Yeah.
And then the dogs had brought up this cool aspect because like you go in and they kind of run away, right? And I think they're like level 30 or so. So it brought in this way of like trying to figure out how to catch them, right? Because you would just run into them randomly, right?
Oh, really?
And
I
then
didn't know that. Like, I never ran into
Yeah.
any of them.
and then they run away, right? So like while you're grinding out trying to get, your Pokedex filled, you just randomly run into them, and I think they come in order. So like you run into Entei first,
Okay.
right? So then like you're like, what the fuck? So then you can check on your Pokedex where it is, and then they're like strategies for catching them.
Okay.
So like I said, you gotta, because they're running away, you have to like have a Pokemon use a certain move to keep them in the battle,
Right.
right? And then I think if they faint, they're gone, right?
Sure.
So,
which is
just move on,
normal, right? You give one
And, like,
shot
so-
at it.
right? But this one like keeps coming up, right? So you have to do you can do things like you get high level Pokemon, and then you use repels,
Okay.
so that like any level Pokemon that are below that your threshold or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
won't show up. So you're only fighting that guy in that area. And then if they run, if they
okay.
run away, they move to a new area. So then you got to go to that area.
Does it tell you where they go?
Well, you have to, you check on the Pokedex.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then so like, and I think I know in Gen 3 they have it with the flying guys. They have the same concept.
Okay.
But then you kind of have to like track them down and kind of run into them. So like every time you move to a new area, they move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you have to have a strategy and how to get to them. And so you have to land in the same areas that they're in.
Okay.
And then you got to apply these strategies
Okay.
to get them.
And what's really cool, like, I do remember this was like, because I was like, oh, I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to come back. And then I never went back because I was like, I got to get this fucking game done. You go to this one town and there was like 2 towers, but they said one burned down.
Yeah.
And they said that like they were part of it or something, like they burned in it or something like that. And then they were brought. Yeah. Like, I love that. Like, I don't know, I just feel like they literally leveled up every single aspect, even the legendaries. And I like the legendaries from Gen 1, but I just felt like they were like, oh, they have like this cool story. And then the idea that they're like running away and you need to track them down and shit like that. And then you can catch the thing that brought them back, which is that's the Ho-Oh, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like the weird looking bird.
Yeah.
Fucking fucking sick. So do you have a favorite then? Because like I don't have a favorite because I didn't have any.
Suicide, the water one, and I don't remember what the electric dog one is, but he's pretty good too. I just like I'll just be straight and like I gotta have an electric type Pokemon
Sure.
all the time in any game I play.
Yeah.
It's just, again, they only have the one weakness, and they're good against a lot of stuff. So like almost every Pokemon game's got a lot of water and a lot of flying,
Yeah.
right? So like having an electric Pokemon is just such a great Pokemon to have on your team just because.
I like, if anything, that's what I learned from this podcast was like, I don't think I would have struggled nearly as hard as I did with some of these fights if I had had an electric Pokemon of some kind. And I did not have one. I feel like that was the only type that I really didn't have covered. And it sounds like that's fucked me.
You know, what they kind of did too, because Magnemite sucked a lot, is they gave him the steel. So it like gave him resistance to a lot of things and gave him a little bit more moves.
Yeah.
So it made him a lot more usable, especially when he evolves.
Okay. Fuck, man. Jesus Christ. I feel like an hour ago, I was like, I kind of know this game. And now I'm like, how the fuck did I spend 45 hours with this fucking game? And I have no, like, for all of you that are on me to like play more RPGs and stuff, like, this is why I don't. I don't get it.
So,
I don't have the patience to learn all of this.
For the purposes of this podcast, you did what you needed to do. You went through the game.
Yeah.
And then you brought someone in that fucking loved it.
Yeah. And like, and let me just like,
and I'm gonna be absolutely positive when I say this. I probably forgot to mention some shit. So if anyone wants to come at me, for real, the game is so fucking huge.
I couldn't believe it
for what it is.
Yeah.
It is one of the biggest fucking games there is.
Yeah.
For any Pokemon game. and the amount of stuff you can do, like they took away so much of it because the game is so big. Like there's not another Pokemon game that's day and night. There's not another Pokemon game that really deals with time. There's not another Pokemon game where they have specific things to the day. Right?
Is there another one where you fucking beat the game and then go back and play the fucking game from before it at the end?
There's not another one that does that, right? So
it's
like
insanity.
Right? So like they kind of nerfed a lot of that, which to me, I mean, I guess it makes sense. You're going to new areas that aren't connected.
Sure.
Right? Like you're in that island one and the third one, and then you're in a totally different area for Diamond and Pearl, and then Black and White's a new area, X and Y is a new area, Sun and Moon's another island one. Actually, it's the only Pokemon game I don't think I've played is that one.
Oh, okay.
So one of these days I will probably find a copy of it for my 3DS and I will fucking sit down and I will crush through that as well. I mean, I tried to do an emulator one, but it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah. Well, let me just so we got to score this and wrap it up. But let me just say, I already said it on this episode once, but I truly in my heart feel like this generation is why Pokemon is where it is today. Like this is why instead of it fading out with like a weaker, like a lackluster sequel, they were like, we put everything we fucking had into the sequel and it just exploded. And I get why everybody loves this generation so much now. It's fucking unreal.
And here's what you could do. You don't even really need to start over, right? Later on, pick it up and just try to do a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And like go pick up a guide and go like do a week where you try just to do all the week stuff.
Yeah.
So all the stuff for Monday, all the stuff for Tuesday, just go and do that and you'll see like why these things are so cool.
Yeah, I'm just in awe like of the quality of this game. It's holy Christ. So we got to score it. There's at the end of this, there's 251 Pokemon at the end of this game. Yep. I don't know if you could catch all of the Gen 1s in this, but like there's 251 Pokemon by the end. You got to
trade.
So we'll score it out of 251. So I'll ask you then, Mick, what would you give Pokemon Gold, Silver out of 251?
251. This is a fucking perfect game.
I mean, I'm going to give it like the 245 because, you guys know it's the Super Mario World tax. But like, as someone that doesn't love Pokemon, that doesn't love RPGs, and that was by the end of the game being like, for the motherfuck, I gotta go play something else, finish this. Yeah. I walk away and I look back at it and I'm like, that is practically a flawless, incredibly well-made video game. I'm so in awe of it. It was just so well done. So I have no real complaints other than the fact that I suck at Pokemon apparently.
And I mean, like you're doing lots, right?
Yeah.
So I understand you got lots of time constraints, and like if you had played this game when it came out, you probably would have been like, holy fuck.
Sure. And if this had been like, the reason I'm so attached to Gen 1 is because it was my first. If this had been my first, I'd feel like so many of you, because I get so many messages from people that like this was their first Pokemon, and I get it. Like if this had been my first, I understand. And listen,
I literally pre-sailed this. This is the first game I pre-sailed.
And I just want to I don't put 45 out. Like there are games that y'all sponsor or that win the Pokemon polls that I play and I beat, but usually by like 20, 25 hours, I'm like Need for Speed. I played Need for Speed for this podcast. And I got to like the third or fourth last like boss race and I couldn't beat it. And I was like, I've played enough that I could competently host a podcast. I'm good. I put 45 hours into this despite the fact that I was like, I know I'm not going to finish everything. I know I've got more to get to. I think it's a testament to just how much quality is here. I was so blown away. I can't complain about anything. It's not Super Mario World, so it can't get a perfect score. But it's fucking excellent. And Mick, you have been on me to come on this show for a Pokemon episode for so long. I'm glad that we were finally able to make it happen.
Since like the beginning of Remember the Game.
I think so too. So I'm glad this was finally able to happen. And I seriously did learn some shit today. So thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thanks for finally doing this. This has been a dream of mine, since, like I said at the beginning.
Fuck. I love it. Well, then in like 20 more years, when I play another Pokemon, I'll make sure to have you on again.
Sounds good, man.
Beauty. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Dean Donian, thank you so much for sponsoring an episode of Remember the Game and for sharing your stories of why you love Pokemon Gen 2 so much. It was great chatting with you. And of course, to my good friend Miklos, thank you for coming on the show. I'm glad you finally got a chance to swing by Remember the Game Industries and talk Pokemon, because I know how badly you've wanted to, and I hope you feel better about yourself now. And like Mick said, if any of you have a problem, if any of you are like, hey, you guys didn't bring up this or this or this, yell at Mick, not me, and just message me and I'll give you his address. But thank you all so much for listening. I should have said, and most of all, thank you all so much for listening, but whatever. Whatever. Thank you all so much for listening. I really do appreciate it very, very much. If you didn't hate this podcast, leave us a good review. Wherever you leave your reviews, I'm not sure what they accomplish, but I know the good shows ask for them, so fuck, I'm going to ask for them too. And if you're like, I can't get enough of this, maybe consider supporting us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/rememberthegame. It starts at only $2 a month, and you get 2 additional shows every week, plus instant access to over 200 bonus podcasts, plus the ability to get comments read on the shows and join our Discord, and you get a shout out and blah, 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 blah. Just wait until August 1st. Don't sign up in the last couple of days of the month, or you're going to get charged twice. And I don't want to steal any more of your money than I have to, all right? But patreon.com/rememberthegame is where you can find it. We really appreciate the support. And don't forget, 5% of our Patreon is getting donated to charity at the end of every year. So wins all around. We have a P.O. box at rememberthegamepodcast.com. You can find our address there. Send me a postcard or a letter, something little. Let me know where you're listening. I'll write back. We'll be friends. And I'm on Twitch sometimes, twitch.tv/rememberthegame if you want to swing by and argue with me about grass starters versus any other kind. It doesn't matter. You're wrong. Grass starters for the win. That's going to do it for this week's episode. We will be back next week with Remember the Game number 208, which I think is going to be about Ratchet and Clank for the PS2. I'm going to shout out some Patreons and get the hell out of here. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you on the next one. Cheers. Goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are at the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/rememberthegame, and I'd like to take a moment to thank them all personally by butchering a bunch of their names. So a huge thank you to Makeshift Mellow, Magic Money, Joe Buck, Sharonic, Andre, Keegs and his stupid arrow handle, James Clark, Dave McGee, DNA Gaming, Slick Rick, Doug Dorn, Charlie Medeiros, Andrew Wright, Jordan, The Good Enough Gamer on YouTube, Fraser Burns, Lil Bunny Fufu 89, Angry Ticks, Dave Thompson, No One Cares, Brandon O'Brien, Aaron Lawson, Matt McLean, Nathan Tremblay, A-Town, Morgan, Zane Donovan, Ryan Kinchin, Mike Maloney, G9PSX, Wolfgang Darren, Sam Wright, Andy Hudson, Chris Copland, Doogie, Wolf Magic 21, Johnny CCDC, Joe LeBlanc, Squints, Titan 420, Zonko 504, Russell Aldridge, Jeff Bergeron, Captain N, Game Nomad Misi, Daniel, Tunable Power, John Woodruff, Just a Fish, Noob Q, Super Dad Bros Podcast, Denzalo, Holmes, Zach Shepard, Chris Dickin, Matthew D'Amico, Frosty Feet 492, Triple, Austin Cook, Elijah Burns, Stephen Parnell, Ray Sen Wantongo, Zach Coiner, DBXJ, Jameer Williams, Steve Dalk, Phil McCracken, Trav H, Mizuru, Nicholas Chaffee, David Marcus, Phil Lencher, Ruben Elizald, Eric James, Riley Turvey, Jake Carter, Mexican Johnny, C-Spin, Thomas Smith, Nicola, Munch Makuchi, Leroy Westrich, Dark Squall, Jerry the 3D Printed Saustrich, Evolva, Sean Ramos, Boston Pork Sword, DB Cooper, Stud Still Smash, Mojo the Helper Monkey, Brant Hewitt, Gabe, Dan Fusselman, Aaron Mitson, Decoy Man, John Jameson, Tyler Nightmare, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Scary Terry Douglas, Bucky Duck, Benjamin Swiller, the Pet My Peeve Podcast, Tristan Teen the Great, Hagel Waffle, Kayach, Jimothy, Joe Stone, Chris Williams, Oroku Saki's Gardener, Nicole Novak, Cody Richardson, General Fury, Salty by Design, Jason Workman, Dem Boys on the Roof, Max Lagroom, James Juan Francesco, The Jamadian Nightmare, Matt Hamilton, Nomad, James Black, Sam Carpenter, Nerdy Hybrid, Tug Jones, Adam Fletcher, Colin Bollinger, Justified 01, Lucas, Joey Mercury, You Lick My Butt, IR Jacko, Theorand, Zias, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Lance Jones, Brian Neese, Christian Gabriel, Big Poppy, Logan, John M. Watkins, Towley 311, Beef Dingleberry, Michael Berjudina, sorry Michael, Hitchy Poo, Daniel Matthews, Arctic Fishin', Romaldo Marquez, Connor McCann, Mark Naley, and Darren Dickey. That was not the worst one I've ever done. Thanks a lot, everybody. I appreciate the support. I'll yell at you and fuck your names up again next week. Cheers, Purple Monkey Dishwasher.
Oh.